You wouldn't want to be in an S-Corp partnership because S-Corps in themselves there's some tax structure that's beneficial, but each person should have their own S-Corp. Like you should only have one S-Corp personally, just one. That's where all the money goes to. All your incomes come to.
Do your reading, right? It's all written there in clear, plain sight. Nobody's going to do it for you. The team that you have right now is good because they've got you where you are, but it's not the same team that's going to get you where you want to be in the future. You need to upgrade that like you upgrade your lifestyle and your business and everything else. The CPA team is no different than any other element. So if you want to get those advantages of the elite billionaires, then you've got to do a little bit of work, do the reading, put in the effort, and you're the one that's going to get most of that reward in that win-win-win scenario that we just talked about.
We were talking about business owners who were around during COVID that had some money due to them, and if they just simply filed, they would get roughly $26,000 per employee back.
Up to, yep.
Yeah, and everyone was like, this is bullshit. That just can't be real. Even me a little bit. I didn't know for sure, but I was like, hey, it sounds like too good not to talk about. So we talked about it. And I think since then, dude, you guys have gotten back my listeners over $30 million.
Yeah, just from your podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, $30 million in refunds. I mean, well, they're not refunds, really. They're rebates almost.
Yeah, they're like a rebate. That's the best way to describe it. Technically, in the IRS's eye, it's called an overpayment that they pay back based on your payroll.
And just for the record, because if people are, perked up when I'm talking about this, so we got back 30 million. And right now, I always thought, well, that was over. That was a year ago. Mm-hmm. But it's actually been extended. So I said, let's come back, talk about it again, because I know I have a lot more listeners right now if that are in business. And I'm telling you, a little bit of money always seems to go a long way in certain cases. So if you had employees during COVID, and you have not gotten your money back from the government, which, by the way, it's governmental. It's totally legit. This isn't a maybe. This is a fact. I've seen it with my own eyes. You need to go get your money back, up to $26,000 per employee. So if you had 5 employees during COVID, guess what? That's about $130,000. That's decent. That's decent coin.
Yeah, and it's something that you don't have to pay back. That's one thing.
It's not a loan.
Yeah, it's not a loan. It's
a refund almost.
You can use it for whatever you want in your business too. So
and it really shows up.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people that got their check. It's like, holy shit, dude, this is real.
Yeah.
So it's called the ERC, Employee Retention Credit. A lot of people know about it. You may have heard about it now. Back when I had you guys on the show, nobody heard about it. Except you guys.
Yeah.
Did you invent it? You didn't invent the program. No. You stumbled across it.
Just by, because I'm a serial entrepreneur and was looking for extra stimulus for another business, and came across it and talked to my CPA, a payroll company, and both of them couldn't help me. So I just was like, hey, this could be an opportunity. We can help third-party businesses. And now today, April 19th or 20th? We've helped 52,000 businesses so far.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And again, little money can go a long way, make the big difference. Stay in a business and not stay in a business.
Yeah.
So, folks, right now, the real ERC specialists, plural.com. If you're a business owner, you did not file, go to the real ERC specialists.com. Editors will put the link in the thing and make sure you know where to go. The real ERC specialists, plural.com. The real ERC specialist.com, and then just fill out like a little quick ass form they got there, and they'll tell you how much money you probably have coming back. So at least go see how much money you got sitting there. If you don't know how much money you got sitting there, go to the real ERC specialist.com and see, because again, that's how everyone got their money back last time we did this.
Yeah, I tell people not to pre-qualify yourself. Don't.
I did. I did.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why you did is because, and we talked about this, is during 2021, this was amended 5 different times, and back when you probably looked at it with your tax person, you probably didn't qualify back then. But because they've added so many different amendments to make it, even Forbes did an article that's in early 2022 saying up to 80% of businesses that have under 500 W-2 employees actually qualify for this, yet 7 out of 10 don't even know about it. And that's when really the barn door opened, is because all these different amendments of of supply chain and different things. We can certainly go over that, but I always tell people it doesn't cost you anything to go on the website on the realeRCspecialist.com, go through the questionnaire. We don't ask for a credit card. You'll go through and it's going to tell you at the very end, what you need to upload for us to continue to qualify you. But it's going to tell you if you don't qualify then. But again, it's going to take you 5 or 10 minutes per EIN to see if you qualify or not.
That'd be foolish if you didn't do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll just say that in the beginning in case, people have to jump off. I just want to make sure up front and in advance, I told you, go get your money, folks. If you were around in COVID, you had employees, W-2 employees, do it. And even if you didn't, go to the realeRCspecialists.com and see if you qualify. Because even if you didn't and it says you qualify, well, shit, it looks like they know something you don't. Maybe some law changed. Maybe something passed that we don't know about. But anyway, so the Real ERC Specialists, that's what you started. You were the co-founder of. Co-founder. We ended up having a few partners at the very beginning after me and another friend co-founded the company, and now we have close to 230 employees in about almost a year and a half, 2 years. So it's been a fun ride. Because there's money coming left and right to you, isn't there?
Great. The thing is too,
you take a little piece of the money you get refunded.
Yeah, you're right. Because there is one crappy thing with the program. It does take 6 months on average for the money to be sent from the IRS. And so with that, we said, hey, we're not going to take any money up front. We're going to wait until they get their money, and we're going to take 15%. That's what we agree upon. Of what they get approved for. So if they get $500,000, it's 15% of that or whatever the number is.
And that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a win-win situation because we're actually waiting to get paid as well. And so we're doing all the filing stuff. And the reason why CPAs and payroll companies, majority of them don't do this, and I always tell people, don't get mad at your CPA and your payroll company for not doing this, because they specialize in your 1040s and 1120s. This is amending your 941s, your quarterly reports. And usually payroll companies don't amend. They just do active payroll returns, and so that's where we became like a specialty company. Kind of like if you go through a divorce, you don't call a real estate attorney to defend you. You call a divorce attorney. We're that specialty company that helps people with that. And so we don't want to do your taxes. We want to work with your tax professional in order to make sure you're getting the maximum amount possible for the program.
And as far as making money goes, because I made over $1 million in commission the last time an episode dropped. I'm hoping that you guys go and do this again this time and make me another million, maybe 10 million in commission. But it's also an opportunity where anyone listening technically can get commission as well.
Yeah.
So again, you guys want to make money doing it like I did, go to the Real RC Specialist, the realeRCspecialist.com, and click become an affiliate, and then just sign up, and you automatically get your link and make a ton of dough. It's the easiest dough I've ever made, I got to be honest.
Yeah. And
I thought it was bullshit, but sure enough, and it did take a while, but sure enough, 6-7 months later, bink, 50 grand hits the account, bink, 62 hits the account, bink, 120 hits the account, bink, 60 hits the account. I'm like, damn, dude, it's starting to pay off. And in reality, some of those businesses that I got to enroll and do it with, I knew.
Yeah.
So they would call me and go, holy shit, bro, I just got my $300,000 check.
It's a pretty cool, it happens all the time. And I love those testimonials.
I had a couple of them send me money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On the side?
I opened an envelope once, there was $5,000 in it, cash. Said, hey, this is for helping me get my money back from your deal.
Best story I've ever heard is one of my affiliates did it for someone that ended up getting like $600,000 or $700,000. He was so ecstatic that he said, "What's been your classic car you've always wanted?" It was like some, I think 68 or 69 Camaro, and he went and bought it for him. That business owner. I've never heard that. I've never heard that done after that, but that was a pretty cool story.
It is a cool story, and I'll tell you, if you ever want to top it, it'd be awesome. You say, hey, I was on this dude podcast, and I've got him a fucking, I'd say Ferrari, but I already have two. Let's figure out something else. A personal jet.
Personal jet.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a good story you could tell?
That'd be a great story.
Now, you guys must be making a ton of dough, though, getting all these people the money back. Like, how, did that change your life? Is this life-changing?
It is. For me, for sure. It's, it's more than retirement type of money.
What were you making beforehand?
I was doing commercial real estate.
Were
doing
you making
well.
good dough?
7 figures. Yep. doing well with it. And this is definitely outpaced that.
And you just, and folks, we talked about it a year ago, so go get the other podcast if you want to know the origin. But basically, you were struggling financially and otherwise. You were looking for every way to save money, and you literally found out this program and like, hey, wait a minute. Then you went to research it and try to get it done, and it was a pain in the ass. You realized everyone would have a pain in the ass trying to do it themselves, so you started this company with the other dude and started saying, hey, we'll do it for you. Not only alerting people that it exists, but also handling it for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I was always doing commercial real estate, but I had another side business that I was a minority owner in. And it was in oil, and price per barrel was negative $60 a barrel one day in 2020. And so I was just trying to help that business get through the pandemic. Cause that business was basically living off PPP money. I still had my commercial real estate, it was doing well, really well, but it was that little small business that we had. And I was told like, hey, take a look at this because President Biden amended it. So I looked into it, called my CPA, which is a really prominent CPA nationally, and he said, hey, I do your 1040s and 1120s. I don't do your payroll. So talk to your payroll company. So I called Gusto and ADP, my reps. Both of them said, we don't amend. We just do active returns. So you're going to have to find a third-party company. I called 2 third-party companies. I was like, I could easily start a business on the side. And I actually thought it was just gonna be something small, like kind of like loan modifications back in the day. Like, cause I started that when I was doing real estate and real estate went down during the mortgage meltdown. I thought it was gonna be a little side gig, kind of like the loan modification, which was like a 12, 18 month stint. And then it went to nothing. Right. And then sure enough, they just kept on amending the program to make it better and better and better. And it just ended up skyrocketing. And I don't know if there's no scorecard out there, but I would say we're definitely one of the biggest in the country that does this.
Yeah, because there has been a few people approach me since. Like in this case, Eric Creekmore knew you guys, and then he knew me, so he showed me you guys and said, "Put them on your podcast. You can get your listeners back a bunch of money." I'm like, okay. So since that day, I've probably been approached 4 or 5 times maybe. And it's everybody doing ERC.
Right.
Like right now, it's way more known than it was.
Oh, for sure.
But it's still not very known.
Yeah.
It's still not very known. If you're listening to this and you've never heard of it and you're thinking, no, this can't be true. Folks, it is true. And I don't care if you're a small business, large business, you can get your money back up to $26,000 per employee that you had. Now, again, you might not qualify. Maybe you don't. Well, go find out. Yeah. Take 5 minutes. You can do it on your phone. Take 5 minutes. Go fill it out. And if it says, you got $1 million sitting there, well, then freaking upload the forms and push the button and let's go get it.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said earlier,
it does come.
Yeah. Well, like you said earlier too, is like maybe you're not a business owner and you're listening to the podcast. Here's an opportunity you can make some easy side money.
This is the easiest side money I've ever made.
Yeah,
that's what sprung me off on that last thing. You're right. That's where I started by flapping.
Yeah.
If you guys are trying to make money or want to make side money, Christmas is coming up. Things are coming up. It takes a little while to get paid. Why? Because you don't get paid till they get paid.
Right.
But what do you got to do to get the pay? Tell anybody that that owns a business, hey, have you got your money back from the government? They're going to be like, what do you mean? You didn't know about the program where you get $26,000 per employee? They're like, no, you better go here and check it out.
Yeah.
You send them to the deal, bam, you're getting paid.
You're really not selling them anything either. Like
not selling them anything. Dude, I haven't sold anybody anything and I made over $1 million.
Yeah. You talked about how much you made in an hour when we did our podcast. If you're going to talk to a business owner, just so you know, you definitely know someone in your backyard, or Chamber of Commerce or whatever. It literally is a 30-minute conversation, maybe hour tops, and you could make $5, $6, $7, $20,000.
Now, how do you train all those people?
We have a whole system, online system that helps train people, and we have a whole support on our affiliate side, and then on the customer side. In addition to, we do twice a month. We do live Zoom calls, just training all the time. And a lot of times, if you're an affiliate for 6 months, it's going to be repetitive, So it's not a big learning curve either.
Dude. It's walking up to somebody that said, hey, you got a business? Yeah, let me show you something. Boom. Now, if you want to get industrial, go get yourself flyers and start canvassing the neighborhood and getting aggressive. You could end up making a shit ton of money.
Oh, I've had some people knock doors in business parks.
All I'm saying is this is a legit opportunity. It's not an MLM either. It's just a legit opportunity. How? Let people know this exists. If they use your link and sign up for that program and get their money back, you're going to get a piece.
Yeah. And you're not going in there and selling something for $100 or $1,000. I mean, you're selling something that's a value.
And not only that, they don't get less because you got some.
Right.
So you're not taking theirs. IRS sends them theirs. Okay. You're getting a little piece of the pie on all of them.
Yeah.
Like, to me, dude, that's just a no-brainer.
It is.
But you being the, top dogs over there at ERC Specialists, you got like guys like me sending you a bunch of business. Everybody's sending you business. You got all kinds of affiliates sending you business. How are you guys keeping up with the business? Is there any way that like I can send you deals that you can't keep up with, or are you guys capable of keeping up with all the deals?
Very capable. Yeah, we're seeing about 400 files a day, filed companies a day. And so we have the staff, the scalability. That's what kind of made us unique, is we made it into technology versus the companies that I talked to at the very beginning, the ones that I was thinking about just doing it myself. Well, for me, it was all manual. It was belly to belly. They wanted to be on the phone with me. They wanted to meet with me in person. And we just said, there's got to be a way that we can get this technology and make it scalable. And that's what we did. And that's what made us skyrocket really quick.
Dude, that's awesome. So what are you doing now? Like, are you more excited about commercial? Because now you got kind of money like you never had before. So it's not a money thing anymore.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I know you relate to this. It's my kids now, right? It's just building even more stuff for them. And for me, I got 4 kids, a beautiful wife, and 2 boys, 2 girls. My boys are 16, 13. I'm already, been teaching them commercial real estate. My mentor, Scott Schill, he has said over the last probably year and a half, the best time to buy commercial real estate in the next 15, 20 years will be the start of Q4 this year, all of next year, and then half of 2025.
Why?
What's that?
Why?
Because of all the commercial pieces and stuff that's going downhill right now. That's going to be the best time to buy, because then you'll be set for a long time. And so I'm preparing that for my own portfolio, and even teaching my kids, because I want them, rather than just give them a chunk of money, I want to give them keys to an apartment building or keys to a retail center, or understanding how to utilize it and make it bigger after I'm gone.
How'd you learn it?
I was in real estate, just flipping houses and wholesaling for a long time. I learned from a guy out of Orlando on how just to do apartment complexes, mobile home parks, and like small boutique hotels. My very first place was actually Boulder City, Nevada, little boutique hotel just probably 20 minutes from here. And then I learned about triple net leases. I had no idea about that. Once I got into that, my wealth, grew, and also learning from Scott was definitely my biggest thing. And it's been now 6-7 years. And
what's a triple net lease?
Triple net lease. So the biggest definition of gross versus triple net. Gross is like a 40-unit apartment complex, meaning the owner, the landlord, pays the taxes, the insurance. If there's a roof problem, a parking lot problem, the landlord covers that. Triple net is like, let's say you own a Wendy's building. Like right now, I'm buying a Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm going to own the building, but a franchise corporate-backed company is going to lease it from me for 20 years. Okay. Now, let's say they have to finish the parking lot or do something with the roof. They pay for that. They actually pay my taxes and insurance too. So I agree on a check for the next 20 years, and they cover all my property management, everything. So it's like kind of like set it and forget it. Granted, that's what's kind of different.
But is it like set? Like, what's their advantage of doing that?
It started back when McDonald's started doing that.
I know, but there has to be some sort of benefit. Like, what's funny is I had a customer one time. I gave him a deal, and he said, and it was a 3-year deal, which is the longest term we tried to get you to agree to. Mm-hmm. And he came back, and one of his stipulations were that has to be a 10-year deal.
He wanted it longer? Probably because you want to be locked in at a better rate.
It is.
In 3 years.
He said, I don't want you raising this on me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Why would I raise it on you? He said, you make that 10 years, we got a deal. So I made it 10 years, like, duh, pull my arm. Like, Of course I'll make it 10 years. So I made it 10 years. And then after about 3 years, he sold the company. The other company came and said, hey, how do we not use this? And we made it very simple. You just, pay out the remaining. And dude, they did.
Yeah. Yeah, some do.
And then didn't even use it. Like, it was amazing. But that didn't work out for him. He should have went for a 3 years, my point.
Yeah. Well, that 20-year piece, what's good about it, number one, is there's escalation clauses. So every third year, it's a 2%, 3% bump on this one. So I know my rent is increasing over time. The reason why also they do that for not just that long, but why they lease is because they want to use their assets for more locations versus buying this one's going to be $2.5 million. That's a lot of money out of their, bottom line that they can use for other locations and, fixing it up, what they call tenant improvements inside the building.
Now, like when I moved into this building, of course I don't own it. I improved the value of it.
Oh yeah.
Because I signed a lease. So not only did you buy the building, then you had a tenant being ready to lease it out. Doesn't that triple the value of the building? For sure.
I mean, what happened in this space is they gave you an allowance. Let's say you saw it's going to be about $500,000 of renovation or all your equipment. They probably gave you $100,000 and then you paid the rest. So that definitely, anytime I work with like shopping centers, that's the other thing is I'll bring a tenant in. Like I brought Napa Auto Parts in here recently. They go and they do their thing and how they want their stuff to look inside, and that adds value to my whole center.
Certainly does.
Yeah.
So is there creative financing on commercial property?
All the time. Yeah, that's what's kind of interesting is in residential you can't, what's the word? You can't, what's it? It's like transferring title. I can't remember the name of it. But on commercial you can. You can easily just transfer a mortgage and transfer the mortgage to someone else versus
without approvals.
Well, I mean, they still want some qualifications, but it's a lot easier in commercial real estate. And a lot of times, especially in this day and age where there's a lot of baby boomers, they have a lot of these properties paid off. If you go and give them a check for $2 million and they have it paid off, they're going to go, they need to put that somewhere else, like a 1031 or whatever. So a lot of times they want to do seller financing and just have the income coming in. They just don't want to manage the property anymore.
So how do you find them?
A couple ways. I have marketing. We also have a lot of relationships with brokers. That's what's kind of interesting too. Is in the residential space, if you talk to a broker or an agent at the very beginning, you want to have them send you some deals so you can rehab the property. If they're a legitimate agent, they already have people they're sending it to before they're talking to you, right? In commercial, it's a little different. So if I talking to you and I'm saying, hey, I'm a commercial real estate guy. And you're like, well, the owner of this place, I'm not a commercial real estate guy, but the owner of this place says he would sell the place, And so you might call him and say, let's say that's kind of like the broker type of piece. You might just call him. Hey, I think I have a buyer for you. Well, what would you sell it for? $5 million, and you call me.
Can I ask you a question though? Why can't I say, hey, I'm interested in your building. How much do you want to sell it for? And then they say, $5 million, and I say, how about 2, and how about whatever. Mm-hmm. I get my best price that I can get from you, and then I turn around and go say, hey, I heard you wanted to buy my building over there. It's almost like wholesaling.
Yeah, you could.
Can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, that's crazy. How come everyone's not doing this?
They just don't know the thing about wholesaling and commercial. It's a lot longer though.
So to me, it's just it's middleman shit. Like if I know you are like, how many commercial centers do you have?
28.
Okay, so let's say you want to sell me one.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, dude, Josh, next time you want to sell one, let me know. You call me, you say, okay, I'll sell one. I say, what do you want? You go, it's the one right there in freaking downtown, whatever. And, I'll take $9 million. And then I say, okay, I have 90 days to sell that bitch for anything more than $9 million. Yeah. And that's my money.
Yep. And that's why some people don't do it. I think they should. I mean, I tell people it took me a year and a half to make money in commercial real estate, but I'm glad I stuck with it. Right. Sometimes wholesalers are like, well, I like to do a deal where I can get the money in 14 days or 7 days. Commercial is going to be 90 to 180 days because someone's going to put in a contract. They're going to see all the leases, who leases this whole building, what the terms are, all that kind of stuff, and talk to a bank if they need to go get financing. That's another 2 months, And so a lot of times that's why they don't do it. They're like, I just don't want to sit there for, 3 to 6 months. But I mean, I had someone my buddy called me last week. He did a wholesale deal on a commercial property, a storage facility, $450,000. He said it's the most I've ever made on a one deal transaction in my life.
Well, how do you find them though? Cause like I'm driving down, you're not from Vegas, mm-hmm. but you would know what I'm talking about then. I'm driving down over here and I see kind of a old shopping center, with this grocery store type of shopping center, little strip mall type, shopping center. That's commercial.
Yeah.
And so, but it's all empty. Like there's no store. There used to be an Albertsons there. There's no Albertsons there. There used to be stores all around. There's one every other, 10 feet type of thing. Now it's a ghost town. Couple of stragglers, but there is a McDonald's on one end and a Starbucks on the other. And I'm thinking to myself, why is this a dead strip mall? Like why whoever owns this can't seem to rent these fucking things out? Why? Why can't
I would
they?
say in that case, it might be owned by a pretty big hedge fund that has,
or they just don't
100,
care.
200, and it's just in their portfolio, and they're not really caring about it.
You mean they don't realize this thing has no tenants?
It's funny. I've gotten some awesome deals from that. I just sold it actually. I had it for 4 years, a surgical center in Atlanta, Georgia. Same thing. It was a medical hedge fund, medical office hedge fund. And it was their lowest producer out of like 60 places. And so they gave me a killer deal. I got it. I had cash flow for 4 years and then sold it for probably about $2 million more.
If you were in business during COVID with more than 5 W-2 employees, you can get roughly $26,000 back in cash from the government. All you got to do is file. But go to your CPA, because they didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, you're a good commercial right now.
Dude,
That's a great commercial.
Do you know what I heard about it?
What's that?
I heard it from the people on the podcast. I'm like, no fucking way. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, why doesn't everybody know about this? Well, the government doesn't want everybody to know about it because they're going to have to pay it all.
And they're still paying every day, man.
Yeah, it's still open. So again, if you guys are listening to this, the Real ERC Specialist, don't call this dude for it.
Call on, man.
The Real ERC Specialists.com. Call him if you don't want to pay any federal taxes.
Yeah, I don't really. We don't specialize in ERC because, to be truthful, we like doing tax strategy.
But my question to them was, what happens 5 years from now?
By the way,
the government doesn't come and arrest you and say, bro, you filed fraud, because they filed everything. All we did was signed. So how do I know that by me signing, I didn't just freaking commit fraud because all they prepared was bullshit?
Let me tell you what it could be happening, by the way, on the ERC. So when you file an ERC credit, you're going to get a refund, right? Let's say the $1 million. You've got to amend your returns to reflect that as income.
We did.
Okay. Are the companies that you're partnered with, are they doing it for every single client?
I don't know.
Because if they're not, then that client's going to get a big ass tax bill.
Again, I don't know.
All right.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get to the bomb squad. Because if I'm in the bomb squad listening to this, I'd be like, what happens? Because I thought the same thing. What happens if in 5 years I go to jail? Like, where's the liability on you? If I trust you and say, okay, I'm going to file and do whatever you tell me to do, are you signing this or me?
Everybody signs it. Both parties.
But you guys sign it too. You're like a CPA.
Both.
So you'll be filing my taxes every year.
Yep.
Every year?
Yep.
And do you file it a particular way every year for the same amount of money?
You mean for the service and the fees? You mean our fees or for the tax?
Like, is there a new fee for filing?
Annual. We do an annual subscription program. So every year you're going to renew with us. It's the same. It's different strategies or different implementation. But yeah, the fee's probably going to be around the same.
How many clients do you currently have?
We have a little over 300.
Now, when you say we, who's we?
My team, myself and my team.
Whose company is it? Yours?
Mine, 100%.
And you learned all this and then got your team built around you.
Correct.
To implement.
Correct.
Help you strategize. What town are you living in?
We live in San Benito, Texas. Small city all the way down right next to SpaceX.
Now, the book, Build Your Own Economy, what's that about?
So it's about taking control of your life and living kind of on your own terms. I know that sounds very motivational, but truthfully, I believe that we're a world set up to keep you dependent. A government that's saying, hey, here's something, here's a handout. Here's something to hold you over, right? Everybody's looking for a handout. I think that we need to be more independent. I think we should take responsibility for our lives and our actions and the things that are going to happen in our lives. And so the book is really about how I did that for me over the course of my life and how I think everybody should do it for themselves.
So again, I'm trying to picture you back wherever you're from. Where are you from originally?
Texas.
Okay, so you're running around Texas. You're not an expert at taxes.
Yep.
Are you?
Right now?
No, now you are, clearly.
I was like, yeah.
At least you think you are.
Yeah. So my clients pay me for.
Whether you are or not is still up for vote as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not one of your clients. I'd have to wait and see. But
Yet.
I'm sure you're legit.
Yet.
We've already made sure he's an actual tax strategist.
Before.
But hey, by the way, the show promotes or what's the word I'm looking for?
Promotes?
Yeah, in other words, like if you do business with him, hey, that's on you. Don't blame the show. Because everybody that comes on the show gets business. And then one time in 4 years, someone called me and they're like, hey, I talked to this guy and he said this on your show and so I hired him and he freaking didn't deliver. So I said, well, then I'll tell everybody on the next show that he didn't deliver. I'll kick him off the platform so the episode will never air again. And, the guy's like, well, why don't you give me the money? I'm like, no. Bullshit.
You're a big boy,
exactly.
right? You made your own
All
decision.
I do is make an introduction.
Yep.
Like, dude, they're listening to you just like I am.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to freaking,
we're talking about the
David Perez.
The real tax strategy.
If you could kind of tell me what it is, like, in other words, this guy at least told me what it is. It's a series of trusts. I don't know how to do it, so I'd have to hire him to do it, but he still told me what it is. Like, how do you save me all this money?
Well, we look at your entities. It's the first thing we do. So like we just mentioned, the S Corp versus the C Corp is which matters, or if it's a partnership or we need to stay in partnerships. Like I mentioned just a little while ago, your partnerships or your S Corps could be partnerships. Your current S Corp could be a C Corp. So we start there. I know this is high level, but that's where we start because all of those matter about taxes.
Can we just go through a big interview phase? Do I write you a check before that? Or is that the free thingy?
This is kind of the free stuff to make sure that we're on the same page.
All right. So we'll schedule it.
Okay. I'm cool with that. So that's how we start. Then we move into what strategies you currently are doing, if any. Reviewing your current financials. I
ain't doing any. That's why it's 1.6.
We look at that. And then at the end, we look at what strategies do you have for investing in the future? Because that also plays a big factor into how you avoid paying taxes.
What if I don't have any?
Well, then that's when we give you advice, guidance.
Because like someone told me, get a jet. I'm like, I'd love a jet. But, they're expensive. And they're like, well, you write them off. It's like, you still have to pay it to write
there's
it
still
off.
a bill. but you could buy one. You could definitely buy one.
Should I, though?
Well, this is the last year. Well, okay, let me step back. Congress, as of this point, has not made any changes to the tax code that would tell me different. So as of today, you can still write off 100% of a jet. Just this year. This is the last year.
It's supposed to change, though.
It's supposed to change after this. In fact,
now, what if Trump or DeSantis or somebody with a brain gets back in?
Well, it could change.
Could it also stay the same?
Could stay the same.
Where you get 100%.
Well,
and by the way, remember when we talked about the rich people with the loopholes? That is a fucking loophole if I've ever heard one.
It's a big loophole.
You can buy a jet and just write the whole thing off.
Well, what's interesting is that this year, 80% of assets are supposed to be bonus depreciated. So like this thing, for an example, only 80% this year, except for planes. It's weird. Only thing got extended for a year was the plane.
See, because they all have planes.
You see what I'm saying? So just for 2023, you're going to get 100% depreciation on a plane.
What about buildings? They all seem to have buildings.
Buildings depreciate just the same. Well, buildings are typically, if it's commercial, like the one that we're in here today, it's 39-year depreciation schedule, but we can accelerate that. We can make it faster than 39 years.
Cost segregation?
Correct.
What is in that cost segregation study?
Well, what we do is we break down the components of a building. So most people, if you really took it as a big whole, it's 39 years. So you just get the price of the building divided by 39. That's your deduction every year. But if you cost segregate, you come into the building and you look at the building, you count the doorknobs, the screws, the wood, the doors themselves, everything. And each one of those assets, then we depreciate it, meaning we take it as an individual item instead of one structure. And that's how you accelerate it. So you could do it in year one. You could take typically 20 to 30% of the actual value of the property in 1 year.
I was told 100%.
No, not 100%. 20 to 30% of the actual. So like this, though, you have to subtract. So most people would say, well, I paid $10 million for the building. Okay, $10 million, but you got to subtract the land because land can't be depreciated. So let's say the land's worth $1 million.
Why? That's interesting.
Land can't be depreciated.
Why?
There's no structure. There's nothing on it. Until it's developed or improved, you can't depreciate.
Yeah, but if it's improved because there's a building, so it's
now land. It is.
Okay, so now it can be.
Well, when something's constructed on it, it's when we can depreciate. It's not, and I don't mean the land. I'm talking about the structure. Structures can
But
only.
you can't do it to the land.
It's because land doesn't have a. So the IRS defines depreciation as useful life. Land has an indefinite useful life.
What about landscaping?
Oh, well, that could be a deduction. That could be capital expenditures. It could be classified as an improvement.
If you were my guy and I said, well, find out.
Yeah.
How do you go find out?
How do I find out? I just read the tax code. Or if I already know it, I just tell you.
But reading the tax code, don't you have tax lawyers do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I mean. My team and I, or
You have tax lawyers?
we have CPAs. We do have a tax attorney that we refer to a lot. But an attorney a tax attorney is just going to tell you what case law looks like. So a good tax attorney you'd go to them when you said, well, I tried to write off this plane, but they didn't let me because they said I didn't use it enough. We go to a tax attorney and they'd say, well, based on these cases, which is white papers, these clients won against the IRS. Let's go to the IRS and fight them. That's what you need a tax attorney for. A CPA is an interpreter of the IRS code.
I know, but if a CPA writes off a bunch of bogus bullshit and then we send it off and the tax liability would be zero for 3 or 4 years until the IRS decides that's not right.
Yep.
Because I've gotten bills that say, you owe us $490 extra than you said. And I'm like, well, who says? Like, if they can do their own taxes, why did they fucking make me do it?
Well, that leads to...
I know, but like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if they know I owe them $490 more than I paid for some reason, then that means they're calculating what I owe them also. And if they're calculating, why didn't they just send me a bill?
Well, the IRS has already started as of this year with the Inflation Reduction Act, which has nothing to do with inflation, but they implemented some IRS changes that are going to allow them to be able to take your forms and file your return on your behalf in the next 3 to 5 years.
I would almost enjoy that.
No, you wouldn't.
And then the only thing is I'll just be able to fight it.
Well,
yeah, because dude, like right now, if I owed it was literally $490 or something stupid.
Yep.
And so of course I wrote a check and like, there you go. But then I thought to myself, how did they know that that's missing? How did they believe, what did they calculate to get within what I paid and how much they thought I owed? So if they knew how much I owed from the get-go, why did they make me go file?
No. So they didn't know how much you owed. They knew how much money you had reported and how much was reported on your behalf to the IRS. So everybody pays you through a 1099 probably, or some sort of form that comes to you, and they report it to the IRS. So all those forms, they just add them all up and they get the total number. And when they look at your return, they look at that and they say, does it match?
Is there any way that companies don't turn in those?
If you're an S Corp, you may not get issued one. So it was probably somebody who gave you a 1099 you don't remember. That's probably what it was. Like, and it was a small one apparently, because $400. It was probably a
$490.
Yeah, it was probably a $2,000 1099. Somebody wrote you that, and you disregarded it because you said $2,000, and you just send me something.
Okay, give 3 things a new entrepreneur should know about tax strategy.
Number 1, bookkeeping is the most important part of it. Because if you have no books, I could never tell you how much money you're going to owe. You'll never know how much you're going to owe. We won't know anything about you. You won't know what assets you have. I can't tell you what to depreciate. So if you don't have a bookkeeper or you're not using any sort of software to track your current financials, well, I can't help you. Nobody can until you get that together, because it's just not something you could do. Number 2, how you form an entity is very important. So if you're most people say S Corp for everyone, right? That's funny. It's like a big thing on social media. Everybody's an S Corp, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be an S Corp. So you could be an S Corp, you could be a partnership, you could just be a sole proprietor, you could just be a general LLC. Like, there's so many ways to think about it. So you should at least consult with somebody who has that knowledge. And number 3, always know every quarter how much money you owe to the IRS. Because if you don't know that, at the end of the year, it's going to bite you in the ass. And that's when most people think about it.
Good advice. I would agree.
Thanks.
So my team gives me things that kind of give me ideas on what to ask about.
All right, I want to see that.
I'm supposed to ask you something about, you're trying to make taxes cool.
Who said that? Did I write that?
No, my team did. Sometimes my team's wrong. One time it said climbed Mount Everest. And I'm like, so you climbed Mount Everest? And the guy goes, I've never climbed Mount Everest. And I'm like, why would they put that? That's the weirdest shit. But this says key talking points: taxes,
Yeah.
business savings,
Okay.
tax planning,
Yep.
making tax cool,
Making tax cool. Okay.
and then building wealth.
Okay. So we're going to talk. It sounds like I'm on a game show right now. Which
know.
one should I pick?
Which one should you pick? And by the way,
I'm going to go for building wealth for 3, Bob. Or,
All right. All right. So then the building wealth is the category. Let me ask you the question.
Yeah.
What is the fastest way to build wealth?
Asset accumulation.
Now, sometimes people say, what is the best way to build wealth? And I say, fastest.
Fastest way is to accumulate assets.
No, the best way is the quickest.
Yeah. Fastest.
Right, but
Oh,
what's
I
the
get
quickest
you.
way.
Okay. So accumulating assets in the fastest way possible. Typically real estate or any asset. It could be anything. The problem is most people spend their money on things that aren't assets, they're liabilities. That's just it. Most businesses will buy things that are liabilities.
100%.
They buy a vehicle because they say that that's cool, but it's a liability right off the bat. They buy anything.
But is it?
Yeah.
Like my Ferrari, is it a liability?
Depends on how you use it. Does it make you money?
Oh, it makes me tons of money.
Okay, then it's an asset.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's probably appreciating if you bought the right one, which I think you probably bought the right one.
Well, there's several.
If you bought the right one, it probably appreciates because it's probably a collector.
It has appreciated.
It's probably collectors.
I would say like women, wives, if you appreciate your wife, she appreciates. Right?
Yep.
If you appreciate your husband, he'll appreciate. We want things to appreciate. Don't we?
It's simple ways to explain things. I love it.
You can use some of this stuff.
Yeah. I'm going to use this with my clients.
If you're way out in Texas and somebody walks in like some farmer,
yeah.
How y'all doing? Get them pigs out my farm, but I
Yeah.
made $70 million growing alfalfa.
Yeah. By the way,
there's a lot of money in Texas, dude.
there is
Some of them I know a couple of them with a bunch of money, dude. They're just, they're smart, but they don't sound smart.
farmers.
Why? Because they sound like this here, there, and for some reason that just makes you sound dumb, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, we have some farmer clients, and it's coincidental because most of our clients are throughout the country. But what we would say is that most farmers, if they have enough acreage, are making 10, 15, 20 million bucks a year.
Most people ask, where am I from? And I say, why? And they say, you have that southern drawl. And I'm like, are they trying to say that I sound dumb? Are they trying to say that I sound like a farmer or a hillbilly? Because I know that I do sometimes, but I'll say, well, what do you mean? Like how? And they'll be like, see, just what you just said, how? I'm like, I didn't say how.
Weren't you trying to move to Nashville for that? No.
I don't try to do anything. FYI. I
Okay.
either do it or I don't.
So did you move?
No.
Okay.
I didn't try to move there.
Well, the last time I saw you was at Coach Burt's event, and you said we're going to be looking at some houses here.
I have a house there.
But you haven't tried to move there.
I haven't moved there.
Okay.
I live here. That's why you're sitting here. If
Yeah,
I moved to
gotcha.
Nashville, you'd be in Nashville right now.
Thought you went for the southern draw.
Hell no, but I sound smart down there.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say.
Yeah,
You're going to sound smart.
Down there, I sound intelligent. Everyone's like, damn, he must be educated. No, I'm joking. Everybody in Nashville, calm down. There's all kind of rednecks all pissed off right now going, what's he trying to say, mama? We sound dumb. And the answer is, if you sound like that, yeah, that is what I'm saying. Because they do. They sound like they're not very smart. But I know a lot of them with those accents that are very smart. Very smart,
Yeah.
but they just don't sound it.
I have some buddies.
You
I
know
have
who sounds
buddies.
smart that may not be? Like the British.
Yeah.
You listen to someone British, or I don't even know how to do it, but everything they say sounds very smart, very educated, very la-ti-da. Doesn't mean it is. They could be idiots that sound
But
really
it sounds
intelligent.
cool. Sounds real cool.
Or it sounds intelligent, right? What if I said to you, listen, do you feel that you would be instrumental in perpetuating the high quality image of Lightspeed VT?
Yes.
Does that sound intelligent?
Sounds very intelligent.
See what I'm saying? But if I said, y'all think you'd be a good addition to our team here? Well, then what? What would you be thinking there? Would you want a job?
I'm the smartest person here, man.
Would you want to get a job? Come on now, let's get on down there and get us some din. Okay? We had enough of this chit chat. Come on board. Now you'd say, oh, these are just good old boys. They're not too bright, are they?
Ain't good.
But they are. They are. Don't edit that out.
They are.
Yeah, I'm gonna see this on social media. I'm gonna get mad hate from it.
Hey.
And not only that, people will point out that, Brad, that's how you sound. Well, I know a little bit.
I know that.
Which is funny because I'm from Oregon.
I remember that. What part of Oregon? Embry.
Well, originally Eugene, because that's
Okay.
where I came out the womb. Right?
Not out the closet, out the womb.
You know what I said the other day? I said, imagine, you know how like they say when you die, you should go towards the light. You see a light at the end of the tunnel. You're supposed to go towards the light because they're pretending that that's heaven. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Everybody's heard it.
Yep.
What if that tunnel is a vaginal canal and the light is you coming out a baby again?
Okay, this is getting deep.
I'm just saying, you never heard stories of reincarnation?
Yeah, we've heard many stories of
Okay,
reincarnation.
so maybe nobody will tell you this, but when you die, yeah, there's a tunnel. It's called a womb. Like it's just, you just keep recycling. The soul just pops in another one, and then you get another chance and another chance until eventually you get it right.
Isn't that
And what is right? Well, in my book, being happy or not paying federal taxes. Same thing.
most people are happy when they don't pay taxes.
That's what I'm saying.
I know that for sure.
Happiness and not paying federal taxes.
When we have
same
clients
thing.
that come to us and say, man, this is the best year of my life, keeping all my money.
Dude, you want to know what's weird is I'm the type of dude, and I've said this publicly and I do believe it. I want to be the highest taxpayer in the world, if it's possible, because that just meant I'd make more money than anybody if I paid more taxes than anybody. But that's not necessarily true. The more educated I become, it's not necessarily true. Just because I paid more in taxes doesn't mean I made more.
Yep.
So I quit saying that because it was ignorant, because I didn't realize. I just thought I want to be the number one taxpayer in the world. Well, because I thought I'd have made most in the world.
Because your accountant said you made money. That's why you pay taxes.
Yeah, but no, you don't have to pay them if you get structured right. If you want to get structured right, you call my man here.
By the way, you can't.
And why is your name Perez? You don't look Spanish.
Well, okay, that's a good way. Let's go there. So if you can't tell, I'm probably the whitest guest you've ever had, and I'll probably tell you the first guest you probably had that has albinism. So I'm an albino.
Oh,
so my parents are
you
both
an albino Spaniard?
Well, Mexican. Spaniards.
You're an albino Mexican,
correct?
That was raised where?
In pretty much
Connecticut?
in Mexico. No,
you weren't raised in Mexico.
Almost. I live on the border.
Almost. Which one is it?
I live on the
Mexico
border
or not?
No. I live on the Mexican border. I get from my house.
Where did you live?
San Benito, Texas, where I'm telling you right now.
And you're still there?
Well, I moved from a small city to another city, so.
Damn.
So yeah, I'm literally 30 minutes from the border.
Can you speak Spanish?
Yeah.
Oh. See, I'm Spanish but can't speak Spanish. But I'm a little bit of Spanish.
Español.
Poquito. Not much. But you definitely don't look Mexican.
Well, that's exactly why. So I'm totally white compared to most of my friends in school. I was the whitest kid in a little brown community.
I don't even think you look Mexican even if you were tan.
Well,
does he? Hell no. But that's all right. Hey, I'll believe you. You got your name Perez, but again, that might have been a strategy.
Yeah, it's all part of the strategy. I was trying to get that minority credit, you know.
That's probably why.
It was a tax strategy. I changed my name last year.
I know somebody who, I think he went with Gonzalez. His name was Dan Gonzalez, but his name really wasn't Gonzalez. And I said, why Gonzalez? And he said, to be considered a minority because they get some sort of preferential treatment.
Well, in where we're at, most white people want to have a Mexican last name so they get a vote.
Oh, see, that's funny.
Yeah. There's a guy. I have to use this because it's funny, but there's a guy out of Texas. He's real famous because he goes on social all the time, and he's a loud guy. Beto. Have you heard of Beto? Beto O'Rourke.
Of course.
Okay. Well, his name's not Beto. It's like Robert Francis O'Rourke, but he goes by Beto to get Beto to get Beto, so he could get the Mexican vote.
How long you been doing this?
Tax strategy or
Yeah.
last 4 years. I was primarily doing tax preparation before that. So I've been in the industry for 16 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you have a wonderful practice if you're helping people.
We do our best.
Taxes. Mitigate
or eliminate.
And people say, well, Brad, you went from wanting to pay the most. Well, that's because I thought that just meant I made the most. But I do want to, I thought I do want to pay taxes still, but I want them to be flat. Why? Because, dude, everybody should pitch in, assuming the money's going to a good place. I think we as a community, citizens, Americans, we should pay taxes. Can you believe that? I believe we should, but there needs to be transparency of how those tax dollars are spent. Because right now, I don't know where all the money goes. And so if I don't know where the money goes, it's just like throwing it in a hole. That's why I'd be okay with not paying any. Why? Well, because I don't know that they're going to roads. I don't know that they're going to schools. And then you look at some of these schools and they got the weird books and they're parading around drag queens trying to get everybody to freaking go that direction or whatever they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. I would pull those. Nope, we're not giving you any money anymore. Why? Well, because you can't mess with people's children.
That's right.
And then people say, take your money out of the banks. The dollar's going to collapse. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think the dollar's going to collapse, by the way. That's just scare tactics.
That's what they're saying. What are they trying to scare you for?
Well,
to make a run on a bank?
To make a run on a bank so the system will crash, but they want you to go into, I mean, anybody who says that the banking system's going to fail, ask them what they're investing in because that's probably what they're selling. It's probably a hard asset like gold,
First
silver.
Republic just went down.
Yep.
Silicon Valley Bank went down.
Well, government's bailing them out.
Even the uninsured?
Yep. They're going to continue to do it with our tax dollars.
So why are these banks failing?
Oh, well, they bought assets that don't have any value.
But why allow me to fail? Why don't you bail me out before I fail so I can just continue on?
That's a good question. I would imagine there's many people out there asking the same thing.
They'll tell you, take your money out, go get Bitcoin and assets and real estate and all this other shit. You know what I say?
What's that?
All you need are guns and ammo. Because if you go stockpile food and all this shit and you don't have a gun, you didn't include guns and ammo, and I did. Well, you're just stockpiling for me, right?
You see, sweetheart, that's why we got a bunch of guns and ammo.
You got to have guns and you got to have ammo. That's what I tell people to go get, and you don't need a bunch of it. You just need enough.
You need more than your neighbor.
No, you don't. How many guns can you shoot at a time?
Oh, that's true.
Just go get a gun with some ammo, and now you're better off than you were before, and never ever vote out the Second Amendment because the guns are why we didn't get invaded even by the Japanese back in Pearl Harbor days. Did you know they asked that Japanese war general or the Japanese war general? I forget his name now, but anyway, they asked him, how come you didn't invade America? You know what he said?
Yeah.
It's not the army we were worried about. It's the people.
Interesting. Because
there's more guns here than anywhere because everybody seems to have guns. So these militaries, they know they start storming our beaches. Everybody's coming out with a gun.
Yeah.
Well,
you got a stockpile.
Yeah, get a gun. Get a gun.
Are you selling an NRA membership right now?
Yeah, by the way. This is another commercial.
Real NRA.
I just happened to start a gun company. No, I didn't. I just believe it. And I want to give people good information.
I do. By the way, I'm from Texas. Everybody's got a gun.
Dude, if you don't have a gun, you're foolish because if that dollar does go away, it's going to be anarchy. You know why? Because even rich people are fucked. What does that mean? Well, that means even rich people. What does that mean? That means, like, let's say I got $29 billion, right? It ain't in my pocket, right? Okay. So when the shit hits the fan and I go use my credit card, no money. Then I call the bank. What the fuck's going on with my credit card? No answer. Now I call freaking my accountant. Neat. Well, you've been disconnected. Why? Because fucking dude, the accountants are out of business. Everybody's out of business. There's no money. The money's worthless. You ever see Venezuela streets where the fiat currency is laying all over the road?
I saw those videos last year.
It's worthless, dude. It collapsed. If our shit collapses, you better have a fucking gun. So. You better have a gun. Okay, and until that's a good place to end it.
Okay.
What? Anything you want the bomb squad to know before we go?
Well, as I started, I know it's your right. It's our right not to pay taxes. And if you're not working with a tax strategist, you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. Go into fund things that you probably don't support, to fund people that you don't believe in. you might as well put it in your pocket and believe in yourself, put that money to work, and not give it to somebody that is going to do something good with it.
Nice. And then what's the minimum? Like if I'm paying $1,800 in taxes, is there any reason to call you?
No, typically if you don't owe at least 50 or above, 50,000 or above, it'd be very hard to put a strategy in place. So if you got a $50,000 or greater tax liability is when we would be able to help.
If you can imagine a kid growing up in the countryside of England, lots of beautiful green fields and rolling hills, running around playing in the mud with his dog, was your life.
Pretty much, yeah. On a farm, lots of rain, but beautiful, absolutely gorgeous.
But you ran around on a farm. And
Lived on a farm, absolutely, yeah.
With a dog.
With a dog.
Playing in the mud.
Yeah, and some horses too.
And some horses. So where was it?
In
Birmingham?
In the northeast of England, yeah, Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough. Is it how far from Birmingham? Birmingham?
From maybe 3 hours north by car.
So when did you move here?
2012, January 2012.
And are you a citizen?
Not yet. I got a green card. I need to do all that.
But you can stay as long as you want.
Yeah.
No threat of getting booted.
No.
All right. And so you got all the fancy proof of success, cars, watches, homes, things of that nature. You don't look that old. How old are you?
I'm 37.
So how did you learn this secret that you have? And by the way, folks, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, KC will keep you from paying taxes. They've got legal tax structures that are used by Trump and the Clintons and high-level families. And you don't talk about it on podcasts ever, have you?
Not really. It's not something that we go very mainstream with. It's more select circles where it's very common in the right circles.
Well, we're mainstream now.
Yes, we are.
So I want to talk about it because there's a lot of people out there paying a lot of taxes. Not that I don't want them to pay taxes. Believe it or not, I'm one of the people that believe in paying taxes. I think everyone should pay their taxes. But I also believe if your taxes happen to be zero because you made some moves or you know, in other words, I believe you should pay taxes as you should pay taxes. I believe everyone should pay taxes.
How much though?
The question is, based on what rules? So the same rules as everybody else plays by. And these, what you're saying is they're the same rules, just nobody knows them.
Well, yeah, let's start right at the beginning. What is the right amount to pay? And the way the IRS determines that is they use a phrase, very specific, very intentional, and it says you should pay your fair share. That's what's written on their website. If we pull it up right now, you'll see you should pay your fair share of taxes. So I would then ask you, what do you think your fair share is? And should it be more or less than the elite billionaires that publicly come out and say they pay no taxes? Or
It would be the same.
Exactly. So why isn't that the case then, when most people, I would say over 90% of people, are overpaying on taxes and just kind of
because they don't know what you know. They don't know the basics even. I mean, there's people like dude, I told you what I paid in taxes, didn't I?
Really did?
Yeah, that's not really that much. That's after a lot of people, chopped it down to that.
Absolutely.
And according to my people, that's, every deduction and thing in the world it could have been was, and that's just what you owe. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I got a guy telling me that I shouldn't be paying that either. They're like, well, I don't know what he's doing.
They don't know what I'm doing, because if they did, they would have advised you otherwise, right?
Well, of course they would have. They would have said, Brad, do this, 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 and that'll be zero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or very little.
So are you then only limited by the knowledge and power of your team that you're currently using?
Yep.
And how often does the average entrepreneur upgrade that team as they upgrade their top line revenue and their bottom line net profit?
Yeah, but I'm still curious as to where you learned it.
Oh, we can get into that. No problem.
I mean, you're in England. You're running around playing in the mud with a dog on a farm.
Don't forget the horses.
And the horses, whatever. Was it it's farm life.
Not like the traditional huge ranches that you'd have here, but yeah.
I don't have my readers, but I'd read further into this little bio. But sounds like you lived on a farm. So then what? Like, when did you all of a sudden, now you're the tax bloke?
Yeah, that was when I was a lot younger, right? So then I went to college, university. I'll read the bio for you. How's about that?
Okay.
Did all that in England. I joined a big corporation, did 8 years with them. 4 years, I was in England and Europe, working my way up the ranks. It's a big $4 billion company called Flowserve, if you want to understand the accent. And learned a lot of accounting, finance, system structures, processes on how to run a $4 billion company. Most people don't get that opportunity, right? So I managed to travel the world and kind of see a lot of different scenarios. So 4 years in, I then switched and moved from Europe to America, did another 4 years with the company, got my green card, and then left and started my own business. And that's really where all of this started to come about.
Yeah, but you started your own business doing this?
No, I fell into this. We started off doing outsourced CFO services. So we were helping entrepreneurs understand their financials, because that's literally what I knew. I was taking month-end statements, packaging them together, understanding what the numbers said, and then explaining what that means in non-financial terms to
the entrepreneurs.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they don't know how to read their own financial statements?
You'd be very surprised. A lot of them do not know how to read, interpret, and understand financial statements.
Where did you learn?
That's what I was doing with Flowserve. So for the last 8 years.
You were there what?
Financial controller is probably the simplest way to put it.
How did you get that job?
So I started literally at the bottom, straight out of university. I was making cups of tea and coffee.
What did you take in the university?
Economics, finance, and accounting.
So that led you to this big company. The big company you worked up over 8 years and eventually became what, CFO?
No, I was financial controller. So I had a region of 1 site in England first, and then 3 sites, and then Northern Europe, then Northern America in the nuclear division of that company.
And then you quit that job and said, screw it, I'm going to start my own.
Yep.
And then I'm going to just work with entrepreneurs.
Well, that's what I fell into to start off with. Yeah.
But I mean, were you one of those, like, what do you call it? Not part-time CFOs.
Fractional CFO.
Fractional.
Yeah, that's exactly
Is that what you were?
Yes.
So you're like, hey, dude, let me be your fractional CFO. I'll just come in, look at your reports, explain what they mean, help you make decisions, and bail out.
Yep.
And you started meeting all kinds of people, I'm sure. You got hired, you got, retained.
Yeah, absolutely.
By how many companies at one time?
So it was tough. So I didn't really do too well at that because, one, I'm not a sales guy. I'm a finance guy of 8 years, right? That's really all I knew. So I didn't know any sales or marketing or any of that advanced jazzy funnel stuff that everyone knows now. So I found it really difficult to portray the value of what a CFO could bring to the table to regular entrepreneurs that are wearing a million hats all at the same time, and they're running around trying to optimize sales and optimize operations. And finance is often an afterthought, right? When you look at the way organizations usually grow, it's sales, operations, marketing, and then finance is distant last. So I'm coming in and I'm like, hey guys, I can do this on a fractional basis. I can show you where the money is, what's going on, where to focus. But I end up going from a fractional person that's supposed to only do a few hours a month into them wanting full time. And
did that happen a lot?
All the time. Yeah. It really, it was tough because, one, CFO services means something different to every entrepreneur. It's not universal. Like if I come to you and say, hey, I'm going to save you money on taxes, and you say that to 100 people, they usually get that. But if you say, hey, what do CFO services mean to you in your business right now? Some people might say, hey, I'm raising venture capitalist money. Or some people might say, I don't understand my working capital or my margins or my inventory. It's so broad. So it was difficult for me to scale that, and it was just me on my own. So it wasn't really going anywhere very fast. But then with one of our clients, we had quite a good success. So with this client, we managed to take him from 5 million a year to 10 million a month in the space of 6 months. And that created a tax problem for him.
How did you do that?
By adding another vertical. So he was in the medical space and he was doing the front end of the data collection on the medical side. But when we analyzed it, all the money was made on the back end, in the labs. So rather than take all the data and sell it to the labs for a fraction, if he was producing, if he had his own lab and giving himself all that data to run, that's really what we did, just add one vertical.
So when you were looking at his books, what pointed out that all the money's coming from that? Like if I go to look at my books, I would say that all my money, or a majority of it, is coming from licensing, which would tell us, well, just go do more licensing.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, you have to have all this other stuff, which is not very profitable. So people will have licensing fees.
Yeah.
So in other words, if I didn't create all your content or give you the services where everything's under one roof, you might not have done the deal at all. So to get that licensing dollar, I have to have all of this kind of
Infrastructure.
yeah. So how do you, if you look at the math, you're like, well, dude, you just need to license more. Yeah, but I have to do the rest of this also. How do you get rid of all this if you want to license it?
Well, I wouldn't, firstly, I don't have enough information, but generally, if we just go up one level and we just look at that vertical, either side of that vertical, people are buying before they get that license and people are buying stuff after they have that license. It's just figuring out what is 1 degree either side. Does that make sense?
Kinda,
So-
but when I hear people saying what you were saying, you know, we recognize that all the money was coming from the back end, so we just shifted the focus. Well, I can't just say, well, most of my money comes from licensing here at Lightspeed anyway, so I'll just do more licensing because I have to do all this crap, which by the way sometimes costs me money. Which means like production sometimes, like if this isn't working, if there's nobody in here filming anything, like you see anybody in these studios today?
Yeah.
Well, then the whole crew's sitting out there still, though. I don't lay them off just because there's no one here today. So sometimes I've seen months where I brought in $100,000 for production and I spent 120. Now, most experts would come in here and say, Brad, you're not making much money on production, brother.
Yeah, but that's a lost leader, right? You've got to look
Well,
at
not only that, but
everything in context.
you got to, because this may not be a profit center, but because of this is.
Yeah.
So when they say, Brad, you should just do more of this. Well, how do I do more of this without this? If the reason a lot of people are doing this is because of this.
Yeah, they're not understanding how it's linked, right? And if they don't understand the full picture, that's where you got to take some of that opinion with a grain of salt. You're not going to sacrifice over this because that's feeding over here. But I'm not talking about disrupting that. I'm talking about what else do the people need after they get Lightspeed.
Well, that's vertical integration, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the next vertical along. So are you going for the vertical
They need
before
marketing.
or the vertical after? But ultimately, all we did in this example is he had the marketing side down, and then he was selling those leads. Rather than selling them to a lab, the lab was making a lot of money because they were then directly selling or providing a service to the government, right? If we could provide that service to the government, and the hardest part of that whole thing was bringing in the leads, and we're already doing that, that made it a no-brainer.
Huh. So if people are listening, they're thinking, hey, dude, do you still do this? What's Together CFO? Isn't that still a fractional CFO deal?
It used to be, yeah. We still do it a little bit, but most of what we do is pivoted into tax savings.
So you stumbled into it. This guy made a bunch of money, and so you're like, oh, shit, how do we keep all this money? So who started doing the research?
I did. He put me to work. So literally this took me out of my comfort zone because up until that point, I didn't know anything about taxes. Like you said, I'm a kid from England playing on a field with farms and dogs and stuff. I didn't know anything about American taxes. And for the first 4 years of living here, I was a W-2 employee. So I was just
For who?
for Flowserve, for the company I was working for. So I wasn't like an entrepreneur myself. I was figuring all that out. So I'm like, I don't know really what to do, man. Like, yeah, I've helped you make this money, but I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy to go fix this tax problem. And we're not talking about a small one here. We're talking about millions of dollars, right? And he put me to work. So he didn't take no for an answer. He's like, you can figure it out. So then I figured it out. I put the work in, read the books, met the people, learned what they do because it's all written in the tax code. It's just like finding pieces of a jigsaw puzzle and sticking them together in the right order.
But there are people who know it out in the world. Do you think there's people that know but they don't know? Meaning they know all individually, but they don't know if you string it together like that. That's the secret.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because there's CPAs that, I mean, my CPAs told me that that's what you pay in taxes. Well, if they knew what you knew, they'd say, dude, you don't have to do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But they didn't.
They don't.
They said, you need to write this ridiculous big check. And by the way, it would have been way bigger had we not been around, which is true in my mind, because without them, I wouldn't know what to do, because I got K1s and all these.
Yeah, streams.
Dude, it's ridiculous. And I can't even keep track of them all. And I don't know, who do I owe this? Is this capital gains? Could that be capital gains? Should I not do it? Should I do it? I don't know. Okay, I just keep making to figure someone, hopefully no one's screwing me. But then along comes KC Chohan, yeah. Along comes KC and says, dude, I could have saved you that. And I say, okay, well, show me how. And ultimately, it's a series of trust structures.
Correct, yeah.
And then who files for me every year?
We do that. So we provide a full white glove service from beginning to end, where a lot of these things, you know, it's clouded with a lot of charlatans in this world, as there is in any industry. But you can't mess around when you're dealing with the IRS. So I designed it in a way that I would want to be my own first client. So from creation of trust to administration to the bookkeeping to the tax filing is all done in-house with us.
So what do I provide to you?
You provide us the financials, and then if there's any deals that you're doing and documentation that you need, we'll provide you the templates. You need to sign them, because the biggest obstacle once it's all created is the administration. That's where most people mess this type of thing up, because it's not the regular simple living trust that most people already have, right? If you're semi-sophisticated, most people will already have a simple living trust. But a simple living trust doesn't do the same things as a complex trust. It only helps you from probate. It doesn't give you additional asset protection or tax mitigation or wealth transfer when it's set up correctly. It's a whole different ballgame, yet most 99% of trusts that are being created, or the legal teams out there, they only focus on simple living trusts. Or if they're a little bit fancy, they might do DST trusts or charitable remainder trusts we were just talking about a minute ago. They're kind of super sophisticated if they're even talking about that. They don't even know about complex trusts. And that's where all the billionaires far surpass everything else, because those billionaires can't use the regular loopholes used by normal people. A billionaire doesn't care about hiring their kid for $12,000 a year. It's like a rounding error for them, right?
Yeah.
So they're using something different. And then when they're coming out publicly and saying, I don't pay anything in tax, when Warren Buffett comes on NBC News and says he pays a lower tax rate than his secretary, when Trump's actual tax returns get leaked and you see he's not paying a damn penny, yet he owns billions of dollars of real estate, not millions, but billions.
Well, that's why, though. That's why he doesn't know anything, because of the tax laws.
The way
you can write it all off, and like, let's say I bought a building for $90 million and I did a cost segregation and wrote off $90 million in 1 year, all in 1 year.
Gone.
But eventually, when he sells that building, he'll have to pay.
Well, he'll roll it over. So he'll do something like a 1031 exchange, and that's a good tool to defer taxes until a later date. And then there'll be other things, like you mentioned cost segregation, then there'll be other easements or other bonuses that they throw in. So there's always some loophole, but when you get too big, loopholes run out, and you then need structures over loopholes. And that's the real difference between the billionaires and the elite, is that they have a structure that can handle all of that. It's like a foundation on a house. If you're going to build a house, you need to dig into the ground first. You need to pour a foundation, let it set. And once you've got that right foundation, you can build a house, you can build a hotel, you can build whatever you want if you have a strong enough foundation. And that's what they have that they don't really talk about too often, but they will talk about, hey, I rolled forward this loss, because everyone knows that that's a rule and that's acceptable. That's okay to be in the public, but what's in the private world, they don't want to talk about.
Why do you think that is?
Why would they want to level the playing field between everyone else?
Because, like, who cares? Like, you paying no taxes doesn't make me hurt in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I were a billionaire found this out, I'd be telling everybody in the world.
And they do that to a certain degree. So I'm sure you've heard of this giving pledge, where these billionaires are giving away 99% of their wealth. Have you come across that?
I've heard about it, yeah.
Yeah, and that is all just really advanced tax strategy that if you pay Warren Buffett enough money, you can become part of this pledge, and it'll show you how he's set up in a way that you can give away 99% of your wealth to a private foundation that you are the trustee of. You get a full deduction for everything going into that, and yet you still control it on the back end. Just like, let's use Bill and Melinda Gates as a prime example. I think Warren Buffett has donated over $32 billion to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and has got the full tax write-off for it all. And then Bill and Melinda Gates have bought over $12 million of Berkshire Hathaway stock from their private foundation. And Bill used to sit on Warren's board, and Warren used to sit on Bill's board. They've since cancelled that side of it, but
Why do you think so?
I think Bill has a lot of heat on him since the whole Epstein thing, and just distancing himself or being pushed away.
So is there corruption?
The whole world is corrupt. Of course there's corruption.
So if people are listening to this and they're paying a little more than, let's say, $300,000 in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm paying $240, you can't help me.
Yeah, it can help you. It just takes a little longer to get that ROI back. But I like to make people feel warm and fuzzy straight off the bat.
So what's the sweet spot?
Anything over $300K in taxes, then we should be having a conversation.
So if anybody listening has, tax issues, and by the way, business or personal,
Yeah, combined, yeah.
but
Non-W-2 though. If you're a high-paid W-2 employee, then you're in the system. It's really difficult to get out. There's only one real strategy that you should be using to get out, and that is a private foundation where you can donate up to 30% of that salary into a foundation. But other than that, if you're in
and
the
then what?
system,
Where does that money go? Just because you control it?
it goes wherever the trustee decides.
But I mean, let's say I control this trust that's worth $1 billion. Can I say the trust wants to buy that house?
Yeah.
And the trust wants me to live there.
Yeah, you can live there as the caretaker of the house
And nobody says a word.
if you do the proper administration.
Because I'm saying, like, dude, this is so
You gotta-
freaking too good to be
You
true.
gotta follow the rules, right?
I know, but
I
I've
didn't write
gotten
the rules.
stung a bunch of times in life, and every time I've been stung, I'm like, this is too good to be true. This is too good to be true. But our greed wants it to be true.
Mhm.
So we say, okay, fine, it's true. And then we do it, and boom, you get cracked.
Well, look at the tax code, right? Because that ultimately is the guide that we all go by.
Or do you have one of those letters?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's a private letter ruling.
Private letter ruling says the IRS already said it's okay.
They absolutely did.
So if you took my tax liability to zero, the IRS is okay with that.
Firstly, we'd never take anyone's liability down to zero. This is not a magic pill, right? There's a process in the system. But yeah, if you follow the letter of the law that they've wrote, I don't write the law. You don't write the law. We just play by their rules. And if the system is corrupt, they've obviously got a backdoor for themselves. There's always a rule for them and a rule for the others, right? The controlling powers that be. If you were in control, would you not have made a backdoor for yourself and for your fellow comrades?
Probably. But I wouldn't have, no, because I'm one of those diehard romantics, meaning it wouldn't have been fair. Like, I like to be fair, man.
Yeah.
If I say, look, you want what I got, you do what I do, you'll get it too. I want that. So I don't want,
Is that the real world that we live in? I understand that.
Yeah, but I don't even want, it's not the real world we live in.
not.
But that's just me. Like,
Yeah.
I would say yes, but the answer is obviously not.
Exactly.
They don't want everybody to have that same advantage.
No way.
They want a working class.
They need it because that feeds them, right? Because the families that we're talking about and the ruling elite, they need people to be in the system turning those cogs. Because
Well, W-2 employees, they're in the system. They can't help it,
No
no
way
matter
out.
how much they get paid.
no way out.
Now, I read somewhere in the tax code where if you work for a corporation, I forget what it was, but it was a long time ago when you ever heard those, you don't have to pay tax guys?
I've heard them, yeah.
Yeah, so like this is why like I'm grilling you about it, because I see a lot of these people in jail now.
Yeah.
Where 20 years ago, they weren't in jail. They were running around making millions of dollars, talking idiots that you don't have to pay your taxes. Look at this tax code. Look at this tax code. But anyway, I was one of those idiots. But I didn't listen to them. I've heard them. And so I was reading what they were talking about, and there was a tax code that said basically, if you're an employee of a corporation, because when a corporation gets formed, they're agreeing to do this. If you have a bank account, you've agreed to do this, and it's all like hidden in the back of those bank accounts or bank agreements you're signing.
Yeah.
Whether you get a loan, whether you have a bank account, all these little trickery things, or a social security number. Like as soon as you have a social security
goes
number,
back to birth. There's a whole world of that. I keep totally away from all of that. 'Cause
I know, but I was reading it all, and one of them said, like, if you're an employee, this doesn't apply. But if you're not an employee, you don't have to pay for this reason, this. And you can read it right in the tax code. And I thought, okay, well, shit, dude. I mean, that looks pretty legal to me. But thank God I wasn't making any money, and I didn't really do anything with them, because 20 years later, dude, a lot of them are in jail.
Yeah.
How do you know someone ain't going to go to jail listening to you?
You don't know. The honest answer is you don't know. I don't write the rules. I don't decide who they go after and when they go after them. And if anyone is telling you that they do decide that, that's when you need to run, right?
Yeah, but like I could say, listen, I can promise you if you sit on that couch, you're not going to jail.
Yeah.
And I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's not against the law. But when someone's oblivious to the tax code, they're nowhere near understanding what it is you're saying when you're saying it. All they hear is, no taxes, mate.
Yeah, but you've got to do your own due diligence, right?
I know, but how do you do due diligence on you?
So you read the private letter rulings, you read the Supreme Court cases, and you read the tax code. It's all written there. And
You got to read the tax code.
I've got it concise. We've got a really nice little community area where we've broken these things down into simple English speak and not into legalese language that nobody understands. That's written half in Latin and half in Swahili.
If I sent a lawyer in there, they'd be like, "Yep, this is what it says."
They'd understand what it says. It doesn't necessarily mean they'd know the mechanism of how it works.
What's the downfall? What's the downside?
The downside is if the IRS comes knocking, right? Like you said, like no one can
What do you
control.
mean if they do?
They can change the rules at any given time. They already have with.
But if they change the
easements.
rules, would you know?
Well, it'd be public information. Yeah, everyone would know.
Are you staying up to speed on it?
Yeah, well, my team is. Yeah.
Because when you say, the downside is you get a knock from the IRS, that's why I don't want to do it if I can get a knock from the IRS. Now,
You can get a knock right now from the IRS.
but not to go to jail over.
You don't know.
Bullshit.
Do you know that?
100%.
How?
Because I pay my taxes.
So what? Have you paid the right amount?
Yes,
Are you
I
sure about
overpay. I
I
overpay.
don't know. Like, I think most people overpay. Over 90% of people overpay on taxes, right? And doesn't mean that you're not doing anything wrong and you're not abusing your current structures. People get abuse all wrong, right? Going for a meal with the wife and calling that a business meal. I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just giving an example.
You wouldn't go to jail for that. They would just say
giving
we're not allowing that this
I
deduction.
was just giving you a simple example, right? But you could easily get in trouble and then have penalties and fees. Going to jail, you need to do something really drastic to go to jail for taxes.
Well, again, that's the difference between evasion and avoidance.
Yeah. 15 years.
Yeah, like,
said
dude, I don't mind avoidance. I don't evade.
Yeah,
like,
you
I
should
am
never
not,
evade.
Like, but if you paid me $1 million, I'm not going to tell the IRS, that was a $10 loan.
No, absolutely. You got to declare everything. And that's literally why we do full service is we not only create the trusts, we help you administer them, because even the bookkeeping's different. The rules in your LLC or your S Corp or whatever entities you have is all based on GAAP accounting rules, general accounting
That's right.
principles, right? But in the trust world, they have their own trust accounting principles. It's completely different. And if you ask a regular CPA what these trust accounting principles are, they probably don't know, because there's not many of them that are filing that regularly in the trust world, specifically in the complex trust world. So it gets pretty complicated pretty quickly.
Tax strategist. You were saying earlier before we turned on the microphone, but that's a little different than a CPA.
Yeah, for sure. Way different.
Are you a CPA?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So I could tell you how this all came about for me if you'd like. So back, I joined the tax industry in 2008, primarily in tax preparation. That was kind of a profession that I chose because I was in real estate prior to that. And I got my license in 2006 to sell real estate, and I thought I was going to be a badass agent. And 2 years in, well, the market crashed from under me, so I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I had a buddy of mine who said, hey, maybe you should think about the tax industry. And I didn't really think that was going to be something that I'd like.
So who would think about that?
What do you mean, join the tax
Like
industry?
I've never in the history of my life, and I'm 54, thought, man, I'm going to join the tax industry.
Well,
I didn't even know it was an industry.
Yeah, it is actually.
I thought it was a thing you had to pay.
No, financial services, it falls in that category.
No, I'm sure. I mean, now that I'm an adult, I realize it. But like growing up, I didn't think, man, I'm going to join the tax industry.
Well, that's true, probably. So
where were you when you thought that? Like, I'm going to join the tax industry.
Well, the reason that I joined is because a buddy of mine, which we got into the business through a franchise initially, which was a tax service.
Like a Liberty Tax or something?
Correct.
Got
exactly. It. So we got into it through
So you realize there's some money in the old tax industry.
Well, it was about money, but the reason that I joined, because I didn't want to do this. I didn't think this was going to be the path that I chose. So he invited me to go kind of sit through a session, learn more about the opportunity. And a guy comes up there and he starts speaking about what he's doing, how he's done it, how he's built this, multi-unit franchise operations, doing big things. But he said one thing that stood out to me, which was that taxes are recession proof. Like the industry is a recession proof industry. And I had just come out of the real estate industry, which had just kind of run me over. Yeah. And I thought this got to make sense for me. So I entered into the industry in 2008. And in 2015, well, actually over the next few years, I built a multi-unit operation in that franchise. We had about 15 locations doing just personal tax returns and small business returns. And in 2015 is kind of where it all shifted for me, because in 2015 I get to the end of a tax season and I'm about to file my personal return. And I realized that I had a huge tax liability, over $140,000. And
is that because you didn't give it along the way?
Well, no. Well, yeah, I didn't prepay. It was because, I mean, truthfully,
it seems to hurt more when you don't pay it along the way, doesn't it?
Well, that's true. And I never had a liability. I mean, I don't come from a background of a family who had money, so I didn't know about all these things. All I knew what it was doing was preparing taxes at the time. And so when I came to this tax liability, I said, man, I'm such a dumbass. Like I was so pissed off at myself because I'm in this industry. I'm filing tax returns for so many people. We were preparing 50,000 returns at that point. And I'm thinking, how could I not avoid taxes on my own? Like, how can I not figure this out? And I felt like an idiot. And so it was kind of a wake up call for me. It made me think about the difference between, not as strategist, I didn't even think like that, because the truth was, I said, I'm just not going to let this shit happen to me again. And that was me. So from then on, all I did is just kind of study and learn these techniques, these strategies to implement for myself. And that's really how this all began. My journey began figuring it out for me before I could even think about helping anyone else.
So do you pay zero federal tax?
Very close. Depends on the year.
So you can make $5 million and still pay zero?
Correct.
You make $50 million, still pay zero?
Correct.
What is the average person paying in federal income tax?
Well, it depends on the bracket that they're in, how much income they have.
What's the average?
I mean, it just depends. What are we talking about? Somebody who makes like $1 million or $5 million or 10?
No, what's the average amount of percentage taxes?
Oh, average percentage. Well, the majority of people pay about 30%.
Of federal tax.
Correct. Federal tax. That's not including state.
So you have a 30% advantage roughly than over everybody else in the world, especially your competitors that aren't doing it.
Correct.
Crazy. So like if I, for example, paid $1.6 million last year, you could have saved me $1.6 million.
Yes, we could have.
And I wouldn't owe that to anybody?
No one.
And it would still be in my bank?
Depends. It depends on what strategy.
How much would I have had to pay you to set that up?
That wouldn't, I mean, that does depend, right, on what kind of strategy you put in place.
I saved $1.6 million.
I said the strategies, but it'd probably be somewhere between 10 and maybe 30,000.
So for $10,000 or $30,000, you can eliminate my $1.6 million in tax liability to the federal government annually.
Correct.
And growing, I might add.
Yep. Oh, you mean your liability's growing?
Well, I'm sure it will. So does my revenue. And with more revenue, doesn't your liability grow?
Yeah, it does. Well, not really. It depends on your bottom line, not the top line.
Well, that's true too, but the bottom line's growing too.
All right, there you go.
If the top line grows, the bottom line should grow.
Yeah, I hope so.
If your top line's growing, your bottom line's not growing, then there's the problem.
We have a bigger problem.
So good. Well, then maybe we'll have a chit chat.
Yeah, I would love to help you.
Because I had a guy on before that he'll do it, but his costs are different.
Well, a lot of people go out there and they do it based on a lot of strategy guys, or they'll call them planners. They say, well, we'll get a percentage of what we save you. And there's all these people out there with these different formulas. To be truthful, I would love to charge based on the percentage of savings, but that all still depends on the strategies that we implement.
It's just finding the sucker to do it.
Yeah. I don't
because I was about to do it. No, I'm just joking.
I don't believe you should charge based on a percentage.
Yeah, but I do know somebody that makes the same claim as you just made.
Yep.
And his fee structure is more, well, you're saving $1.6 million. Okay, so I only want X. Sounds good to me. But I knew there were other people in the world that must charge differently and more of a flat rate, like you are.
That's exactly right. And
so you said between 10 and 30 G's.
Correct.
Shit. You take American Express?
Yeah, I do.
Bang.
You got a platinum?
But yes, I do.
There you go.
And I want to know, honestly, this is the only question I want to know. How do I know you're not full of shit? Like, what if my tax planner or the guy in your position or this other guy that says he can do the same thing or any of them that claim they can?
Yep.
I pay you, whether I'm sharing or not, I pay you, you're paid, you do your deal, you do whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
And me as a dumbass that doesn't know anything, I'm like, cool, I don't pay taxes. So I spend 4 or 5 years dodging taxes.
Yep.
And then I get put in jail and your ass is missing.
Okay, that's I get what
because you know what they do? They come to me and they go, what the fuck?
Yeah,
and
I'd
be like, what the fuck do you mean?
You
what the fuck?
It.
Ask this dude. And you know what they'd say?
You signed it.
Yeah. Who's that dude? Like, we're talking to you, Mr. Lee. This is your signature, isn't it? What do I do then?
Well, in the event, first off, you should never do anything you don't understand. So a lot of the strategies we put in place,
taxes.
No, well, yes, but if I shared with you like maybe a real estate strategy play, I'm assuming you know a little bit about real estate.
A little bit, yeah.
So if we showed you how to use real estate in a leverage play to avoid paying taxes, I think you would catch on pretty well.
Well, that's one way to do it, but that requires money. That's you can't just do that. You can write off taxes, but what if they don't have any?
Well, in your case, you do. You have $1.6 million
in tax liability.
Well, exactly. That's where we start, right?
I don't have any real estate to write off.
Well, no, the money that you'd be saving, because we do it in advance.
I know, but again, if I had $1.6 million in savings, what? Then I go get some real estate.
Correct.
So I can write it all off before I get it?
No, we plan on, so a tax plan begins before the year ends, not after the year ends. So right now, let's say we know your revenue.
See, there's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good bomb right there. Say that again.
So the tax plan begins before the year ends, not after the year ends. And so many people have that misconception. They're like,
and it's for the next year, right?
Yeah. So like right now, what we would do is we'd look at your first quarter.
So I'm screwed in 2023. I'm paying taxes no matter what.
Well, we don't know because we're in 2023 right now. And we would look
early
enough, and we'd project based on this quarter what the next 3 quarters would look like.
I can already tell you more than likely a little more than last year's.
There you go. And so we know that your tax bill will be 1.6 or greater. So we can plan right now what we can invest in or what we can change or what we can optimize right now so that bill gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And you can use that cash today rather than having to give it to the IRS in April of next year.
Gotcha.
That's the strategy. So yeah, you're right. You do have to have some cash, but if you're already paying a liability, you have cash because you're going to give it to either Uncle Sam or you're going to figure out how to use it for yourself.
Yeah, well, most people aren't doing that. Why is that, you think?
Well, I think a lot of people go to their CPA right now or their accountant or their tax professional, and he just says, hey, you made a lot of money. That's what you're supposed to do. Pay your taxes.
It is.
That's what they say. You know,
they'll say that's what it comes up to. We've deducted everything we can deduct. Well, they don't say, Brad, what you need to do is go create a family trust, a charitable trust, and a business trust. Arrange some sort of trust structure in place, have one own the other, put all your assets into those things with these documents. And now technically you personally don't own shit. The trusts do, and the trusts don't pay the same taxes as everybody else.
They pay less tax rates, correct. So
why don't they just say that?
Well,
because they don't know.
Well, a lot of them don't know exactly what that even means or how it works. And I think there's a lot of CPAs and EAs out there that are they just want to get the job done, or they're overwhelmed, or they're underpaid. So they don't have the opportunity to do all those strategies. I mean, I'm sure none of them have ill intent. They're not like, Brad, I want you to pay 1.6 million. I mean, I don't think anybody.
No,
would
you know
say
what
that.
I think they do?
What's that?
I think they just run the numbers. They write off everything that their notices that popped up and things they kept up with. Oh, you can write off 6,000 pound vehicles. No one's asked me if I bought any. Last year, I bought, I think, 3 6,000 pound vehicles.
I'm sure you did.
My accountant did not ask me.
Why not?
I guess I'm supposed to volunteer that information. because next thing you know, my taxes were prepared and all I had to do was
sign and write the check.
Yeah.
And
I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, that's shit.
I don't understand. Like I bought a 6,000 pound truck. Isn't that a write off?
What is the truck? Just so I know.
T-Rex, Dodge T-Rex.
Oh, those are nice. I just talked to a guy about one this morning. They're pretty badass.
But I mean, it could have been a Rolls Royce Cullinan.
Yeah.
But they're 6,000 pounds.
Yep.
So like, how do you write all that stuff off? My Ferrari, for example, I use it for business to make money. It's marketing. It's a business expense. I wouldn't have it otherwise. I just drive a regular old vehicle.
Yep.
I only have it for business.
Yep.
You see. Isn't that 100% written off?
It can be if it's structured the right way.
Well,
yes.
Then how would I owe taxes after said and done? I have a little profit left regardless of what they wrote off. So let's say they wrote off the Ferrari, they wrote off the cars. So they wrote off everything and I still owe 1.6.
If they did that and you still owe 1.6, that means you probably owed 2 point something at that point.
Okay, but let's say, okay, and I still owe 1.6. How do you get out of paying the 1.6 is my curiosity.
Well,
because they're writing off everything already.
Well, it's not about write-offs. It's typically about where you put your money, right? And how you structure that entity. So depending on how you're structured right now, it could be that you're, let's say, an S Corp, but it could be a C Corp.
I'm an LLC filing as an S.
Cool. You could be a C Corp depending on...
I'm not.
But you could be.
No, I couldn't.
Why not?
Because I'm the one that filed it and set it up.
No, I understand that, but we could change that. It could be changed.
Oh, you mean I could change my...
Correct.
I gotcha.
You could change to a C Corp, which, I mean, I'm not saying this is the strategy because I don't know your specific situation, but based on what I'm hearing, you may be, first off, a better question, is you planning to exit one day?
100%.
Okay. So S Corp is not a great way to exit. It's C Corp because people are going to buy shares in a company rather than, so it's an easier sale. And if you hold a C Corp for a long enough period of time, typically 5 years or greater, you can actually get $10 million capital gains free on the gain of the business.
Really?
Yeah.
What if we started out as an S Corp?
It can be converted. It's a little tricky because it just takes some legal stuff, but it's possible.
What if it started out as a C Corp and then we switched it to an S Corp?
Ah, interesting. And you want to go back?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Because I keep being told that we don't want to go back.
Well, it's easy to have an identity crisis today. So
I'm having one. Because again, I'm pretty sure we started out as a C Corp for the longest time. I didn't have any personal taxes because this company made millions of dollars.
Yeah, you would pay just the corporate tax rate of 21%.
Right. So the company paid taxes.
And you got a W-2.
No. Well, that and then
distributions.
Yeah. Then if I took distributions, well, then I was taxed again.
37%.
Personally.
So then it was
why,
double taxation.
Why pay 37% personally, 21% for the business when I can just say, screw it, file as an S Corp, take it all as a personal and pay 37, which is less than 50.
Yeah. Well, I would
or vice versa.
The interesting thing is that it's not entirely wrong what you're doing, and it's not wrong at all. It just depends on the strategy you want at the end. You said you wanted an exit. So
100%.
So a C Corp's a way better exit strategy. I mean, it's not the only way.
We're going to have to go back to C.
Yeah. That's probably it. I'm not saying this is the
But with this new structure you're going to have me in.
Yep.
And will I pay taxes? Federal?
You will still pay some taxes.
Federal?
Well, it depends because so a lot of people try to think about their business and them as the same, right? And when you look at a tax return, there's two different components, right? There's typically, people think like when we do tax plan, they're like, plan for my businesses. Well, businesses rarely pay taxes unless they're a C Corp. Individuals pay taxes. So all your business holdings, because I see you have a lot of businesses. You got an insurance agency, a solar company. What else you got?
All kinds of shit.
Okay,
RV
you got
dealerships.
Okay, so oh yeah, the RV, right? I saw that. So you got all these are all probably partnerships. I hope.
One called Bradley Inc., which is like me because I'm the business. I am a businessman.
Are you
I'm a businessman?
So, but none of some of these have partners, some don't, right? That one
Some
I'm
do,
assuming.
some don't. Yeah. The Bradley Inc., no partners.
Yeah, just you.
my wife's a partner, but she's not literally a partner.
Yeah, I get you. So all of these companies at the end of the year, they send you something called a K1.
That's right.
And those K1s fall to your personal return, and that's typically where the liability is calculated.
Hey, and by the way, who do they send them to? Me?
The K1s?
And if I never sent them on to my accountant, how would they know to ask me?
Well, if they're smart enough, they could probably pull a transcript, but I don't know if they did or not.
I don't know.
And
I gotta call them. After I get off with you, I'm gonna go call them.
Funny thing is that you said that this is exactly you're exactly who I talk to every day, and I say that with a lot of respect because you're running and gunning, you're moving faster, you're moving light speed. There you go, and the light speed in you causes you to not tell details that are very important to your tax professional every day. Every day you make a decision and typically is going to have a tax implication. Open a new company, buy a large asset, make an investment.
Open a new company. Is that some sort of check mark?
Opening one?
Yeah.
Well, we need to know about it because now we need to know what type. Well, you shouldn't even open a company without talking to your tax person.
See, again, I'm opening them left and right.
How do you open? Who does this?
Well, it's easy to set up a company.
You go to LegalZoom or something?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
I have someone go to LegalZoom.
You have an attorney, I hope.
No, I have someone that goes to LegalZoom. But either way, it's like, bink, okay, I'm a company. Oh, got a bank account. Oh, got a credit card. Oh,
yep.
Got some revenue.
So you've got a lot going on, and this is typically what we see. You know,
by the way, I always say LLC because we're in Nevada.
Yeah.
Filing is an S. Why? Because that's what I've been told by my tax professionals is the smartest way to go.
Well, I hope that all the companies you're in partnerships with aren't S's.
Why?
You wouldn't want to be in an S Corp partnership because S Corps in themselves there's some tax structure that's beneficial, but each person should have their own S Corp. Like you should only have one S Corp personally, just one. That's where all the money goes to. All your incomes come to. So like
well, then I'm gonna have you hook me up one of these days.
Yeah, I can show you I could just give you a really high level view of what you're doing, and then I could break it down so simply that it makes sense to you.
Yeah, well, good. Again, I mean, I wanted to pick your brain only because everybody in business, I think, can afford or should afford a tax strategist.
We should save you more money than you invest in us.
So my question is what degree or what training do you have to know all these things?
Well,
and what if I go to jail in 5 years because what you told me isn't necessarily true? Am I supposed to go read the law?
No. So first off, in our business, so I've been in the business for 16 years now. So I filed thousands of tax returns. I've registered with the IRS. I've been doing it personally for years. But when we file returns and we do structure and entities, we have attorneys, we have CPAs, we have enrolled agents who are on our team who do all the work, and all of them sign off on everything we do. So if there's ever an instance, a CPA would lose their license if they did anything illegal. If they caused any harm to you, that falls under errors and omissions insurance. So we wouldn't want to put anybody in a position to be audited or lose money. Now, I would tell you
again, I've been audited. I don't really care about auditing. Why? Yeah. Well, it's a little inconvenient, but I just say go see the people in that office. and then like 3 months later, they come out and they're like, "Thank you," and they say, "See you later." And then I turn around and I go, "What happened?" They go, "Nothing. Not a penny out of place."
There you go.
That's happened twice.
Well, it's because you're overpaying in taxes.
It's because I'm overpaying in taxes.
They can't
I told someone that is why they never find nothing, because I overpaid. They're not going to tell me that. They're in there going, "Wait a minute, this guy's a fucking idiot." This guy's not taking advantage of
1.6. Don't ever audit this guy again until his things change, right? That's what they're saying. That's pretty interesting.
Hey, listen, there's people don't know. How do I know the taxes? Like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever seen, which is why I think when a tax guy signs my returns, you should go to jail. Not me. I'm free. Why? I was smart enough to hire you, the tax professional that knew what the hell's going on, and you're putting your ass on the line, not me. Then right now, I'd sign up right now.
Well,
like, let's go. I don't want to
there
pay
you
federal
go.
taxes. Who wants to pay federal taxes? Don't nobody want to pay federal taxes.
That's the biggest misconception. You're not going to go to jail, by the way, Brad. Nobody's going to jail.
And by the way, what are they doing with those federal taxes?
Oh,
Want to
shit.
get a little political?
Yeah, we can. I love this
Ukraine and
area.
shit. What are they doing over there?
Well, I would say that.
What do you think they're doing?
But what's
You
really
think they're
funny?
helping?
Do you think what?
You think they're sending all those billions over there to help?
Oh yeah, they're sending billions over there.
To help?
I don't think it's for helping.
What do you think it's for?
Well, I think it's to support an agenda for sure.
No, I think it's to launder it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How? What do you mean?
They're laundering money
Where does it go to?
back in the pockets of the freaking politicians.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, like if I send you 30 billion, dude, I want 27 billion back.
Yeah.
What would
please.
you say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, depends if I don't want to go to jail.
No, we're countries, bro. We don't go to jail. Okay, you ain't putting Ukraine in jail.
Well, I would tell you that.
And clearly, we don't put our own politicians in jail. Otherwise, we'd release the Epstein list, wouldn't we?
Yeah. There was something this morning. I don't follow it as well, but I saw somebody got caught with Epstein stuff today. And that was a new person.
Epstein's list ain't coming out because if Epstein's list comes out, we are going to see names on that thing, which obviously means they're pedophiles and they've been over at the island humping little kids.
I would agree with that.
So that's why that thing is sealed, because if we saw whose name is on that list, we would freak the hell out, like leaders and presidents and frickin' movie stars and frickin' governors and frickin' like our trusted people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, but I'm a little bit of a conspiracy nut on a tangent. I think, again, a lot of things, but in that particular case, I think that's why the list hasn't been released.
I think there's a lot of dollars of ours today that are going to things that we don't support, and probably to hide things that we can't see today is probably a lot of that. I saw,
Probably for sure.
The federal, deficit, I don't even know what the number is, trillions and trillions of dollars. But I was thinking today, we were talking about in the green room that it's just going up and up and up. And then right under it, you should put a statement and says right under it, who's paying for it? And it's taxpayers. It's taxpayers that are paying.
But we're really not.
What do you say that?
Well, because you could spend 3 times in taxes to every person in the United States, and we wouldn't make a dent in that trillion.
Oh, yeah.
The interest rate alone is so big and massive that we will never pay our way out of that debt.
No, I'm not.
So when we pay taxes, it's going into a hole. Like right now, if no one paid taxes, nothing would change.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
They could just print some money and it'll just keep going.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah. They already tried that.
Hopefully long enough for me to die. Because I wouldn't want to be around when that thing finally collapsed.
Well, I would say that a lot of the tax dollars today go to support things that don't really align with probably most of your viewers and myself included. And that's
now,
that's
are
a
you
big
a
deal.
Trumpster?
Well, I can't say I'm a Trumpster. I could just say that because there's a lot of things that I do like and there's a lot of things I don't like.
Are you a Biden fan?
No.
Okay.
I can pretty much say that for sure I'm not.
Okay. Are you a Trumpster though? No.
No, I can't say I'm full out because there's some things I think he says that are really fucking stupid. But there's a lot of things he does say that are really great.
Well, it's not about what he says, what he does.
That's true.
What a president says is kind of embarrassing or not, but what they do is what's important.
That's really true. I like the statement.
So what did he do?
Well, he changed a lot. He changed our tax code in 2017. It was the biggest tax change and shift in like history.
And what happened there?
Well, a lot of people saved a lot of money.
Damn, Skippy.
That's
even
right.
the Democrats.
Everybody saved money.
Even the libtards.
It's true though.
My daughter is more leaning left on everything.
How old is she?
37.
Oh, okay.
She's very liberal, let's just say.
Okay.
I guarantee you voted for Biden. But she didn't necessarily vote for Biden. She voted against Trump.
That's right.
She couldn't stand Trump. She would rather the country fall than him be president. And that's the problem with Trump. He's so despised by that party or that group that they would rather have the country fail than to let him be president. Because if they just let him be president, guess what? He's a businessman, and this is a business.
That's right.
So
we are a big business.
It's
so
a big
is she
business.
still the same though? Would she still vote the same way if they came again?
What's funny is I told her, she's what Trump do? I said, what are you talking about? We paid less taxes. She goes, yeah, for all you rich people.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you save money on taxes. She said, what? Like a couple $100? Big deal. Well, now look, because now they're paying more. And guess what? It's just a couple $100, big deal. But they're paying more. Anyway, we don't want to get political. Let's back up to taxes, because there's people listening. They're going, damn, dude, I need to call this guy. And by the way, davidaperez.com or taxplanexperts.com. And I'm sure you got some sort of intake form or way to get a hold of you.
Yeah. They could schedule a free discovery call.
Free discovery.
Yep, free discovery.
And that's not with you.
It could be. It depends.
Not with the bomb squad, dude. You can get thousands of calls.
Let's do it. We'll bring it on. Maybe I have to get on the phone.
I'm just saying, you could get thousands of calls.
I would love that.
And then you couldn't talk to them all.
Well, I got a team. I do have a team.
Hopefully a big team.
We do.
Well,
we're ready.
Because it ain't hard trying to get someone to figure out if they don't want to pay federal income tax.
Yeah. Well,
anybody don't want to pay federal income tax, call him. And by the way, is that going to get you in trouble with the IRS?
By what?
Saying that?
No. I mean, it's your right not to pay taxes. The tax code.
Say that again.
It's your right not to pay taxes. The IRS, the IRS is just the enforcer of the rules, right? Congress writes the laws. Those laws get implemented. Congress enforces it. Those code is written by the rich politicians. And there's always going to be a loophole or some advantage or some sort of strategy to outweigh or outgrow or outperform that tax liability. There's always going to be there because they write the freaking code, red or blue, doesn't matter. They all benefit from it. So when somebody says, well, if so and so, I'm like, they're all benefiting. I mean, every single politician today is probably a millionaire, and they get paid what, like $100,000, right? Most of them don't make much money. So it's, how do they get it? It's typically because they know how to take advantage of the system.
And lobbying.
That's true. That's why they retire, by the way. They retire from office to be a lobbyist.
So if anyone's listening, you probably want to get yourself some tax savings. Is it going to be some sort of description, like I said, trusts involved?
It can be. Everybody today should at least have a revocable living trust. I mean, that's not really a tax strategy. That's more of an asset protection strategy. But I think everybody should have a trust, but
not three.
3? Well, you could have a charitable remainder. You could have a revocable or irrevocable. There's some.
Is there such thing as a business trust?
Depends on the type. You can call it a business trust.
Is there such thing as a family trust?
Yes.
Charitable trust?
Yes.
Okay, so you want a family trust, a charitable trust, and a business trust.
Correct. So for what when you were to explain the strategy, what are you trying to accomplish?
Me?
Yeah, like what were you trying?
To pay no federal income tax.
Okay, I thought they were talking about asset protection.
No, like I'm just trying to. It has nothing to do with asset protection. That's just a bonus. Like that's just a side effect.
Oh, well, most people, by the way.
How do you not pay taxes? Well, according to this other fella that takes a big chunk of what he's saving you. Well, he said all you got to do is set up these series of trusts that frickin' one owns the other, that owns the other, that owns the other. And at the end of the day, here's the tax code. Go look it up. Go ask anybody that you want. It says point blank period. You don't pay if this is this is this. And he goes, and that's what we set up for you. And I'm like, well, shit, that sounds good. How much is that? And that's when I said, I'm holding the brakes. Why? Because I knew I'd find someone like you that is not taking a chunk of it. Because I figure, you can hire someone to, 10, 20, I said 50 grand, but like 10, 20 grand to do this.
Well, I think what he said, by the way, whatever this gentleman's saying about trust and stuff, all of that stuff could be over. I'd like to
get you guys on the phone, see if you argue.
Let's do it. Because the challenge here is that I'm thinking, I like control. Do you like control?
Yes.
Well, I mean, anytime you open a trust, you're losing some form of control. If it's not revocable, meaning if you can't get rid of it. Not if you're the
trustee.
What's that?
Not if you're the trustee.
Well, that's true, but you don't own anything. You can manage it.
And that's why you don't owe anything.
Yeah, well, there
ding, 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 ding.
You could play it a different way. I mean, there's so many.
You said it right there. You don't owe anything because you don't own anything.
That's true.
So let's say your wife divorced you. I want half. Half of what? I don't have anything.
By the way, now you're talking about asset protection, not tax strategy.
That's why I said it's a bonus.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's a bonus.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, if you put them in these structures, this is what I'm being told. This is my point also with the jail thing. Because I don't know that this dude's full of shit or not. I don't know if you're telling the truth or not. I'm going to believe you, especially if I hire you as my tax strategist. Yeah. He said to do it, and they're like, turn around, put your hands behind your back. You know what I asked him? The same question. You know what his answer was? I'd be right there with you, brother. I don't want you right there with me. I don't want to be there.
You don't want to go to jail, man.
Yeah, I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there. Like, dude, I'd rather keep paying 1.6 million.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, you don't need to pay it.
I want legitimately to not pay taxes. And if I can legitimately not pay taxes, like I do believe the rich and famous do, because there are strategies and shit that they use. And you're right. They're writing the laws for themselves and they don't broadcast those. So sometimes obsessed people like you go in and figure this shit out. Just like the ERC credit. You heard of that, right?
Oh, yeah, dude. That is so crazy.
Yeah,
so
but that's real.
No, I know. We did it. We do it for clients.
I got $1 million and change back.
How much did they charge you?
They didn't charge me anything because I had my people do it.
Oh, there you go.
But actually, no, I take that back. They charged me 75 G's.
That's it.
Now,
so many people are charging 20%.
Well, 100%. The people that I had on my podcast, and I said, I'll put up a link, and if people want to go use it, go ahead. They said, well, if they do that, we'll give you commission. I said, cool. So I put up a link, and we got back like 30 some million dollars, and I made over $1 million in commission.
Amen.
Just from dropping one podcast about it. So we should have a link for you because everyone's going to want to do it.
Yeah.
And if you make $1 zillion from the bomb squad, just kick a brother down.
I'm down. We do ERCs every day, actually.
Well, ERCs, I just send people to the real ERC specialists.
There you go.
.com. I'll get those. I ain't talking about ERC. But I'm using that as an example because that's real shit. Do you think COVID hurt the commercial market? Because if you ask me, everyone started working from home. Like even now, I had this whole floor. I had probably 80 people running in and off the floor. COVID hit. I had to send everybody home. And then I only brought maybe 20 back. The rest are still working from home, but now I got way too much space. Don't even need it all. I leased it, so I'm paying it, whether I need it or not. But my point is, I don't really need it anymore. So you would think if commercial's less in demand, that it's going to make less money.
So commercial. When you say commercial, you're talking about commercial office. So that's definitely has gone down a ton, and that will go down a ton because of the pandemic. Because business owners saw and they practiced how they can have their employees work from home, right? I don't invest in commercial office. I invest in commercial retail and commercial medical, commercial dental, and then flex and industrial buildings. So I'm very specific. And I mean, you probably saw there's been restaurants like, Raising Cane's or whatever has been popping up all over Utah, like during the pandemic and shortly after pandemic. Food hasn't had a problem. Right, those small restaurants, those are the ones I invest in addition to, like you talk about this Albertsons opportunity. What I would say to you on that is if you have a phone number, I would call them and just say, hey, if I just offered you cash for this, because you're not making any money on it, what's the price on it? They might say, well, we're asking $3 million.
Okay, well, here's the question. So let's say they ask $3 million and I'm a sucker. I say, okay, fine, here. And I give them $3 million. And now I own it and I can't rent it out. Is it possible that they couldn't rent it out because it's not rentable?
No, could be, but so putting under $3 million, and even if you said I'll give you cash, they're just not going to turn around. You're not going to turn around. You wouldn't be a good investor if you just turn around and gave them cash. You're going to put it under contract. You're going to have that 3 to 6 month period to see also. So sometimes one of the strategies is we put under contract, but then we're calling, Albertsons, Kroger. Hey, you guys interested coming back here? I'm getting other tenants in place. Then people start getting more interested. Sometimes I've gone 6 months where I haven't had anybody that's like, dude, no, we're not interested at all. Then I back out. That means I didn't lose any money. I lost time, but now I have teams in place for the Chandler Group that goes and does certain things in that process.
Well, dude, again, one of these days you need to make a course for that because I need to know.
We should.
I need to know more about commercial real estate because you're making a killing. I know this other dude's making a killing. I thought commercial included office space. You're saying, yeah, but that's office commercial.
So there's just different asset classes. And the other part I love about commercial too is the tax benefits, not just as an owner, but also that an owner is what they call a general partner. Then there's limited partners. Let's say you're like, hey, Josh, I'm interested in putting a couple $1 million over the next couple of years in your commercial real estate projects. Well, there's awesome tax benefits with that, with tax cost segregation. Sometimes people always, there's probably Trump likers, Trump haters on here or whatever. But the one thing
no haters.
No haters. That's awesome. Because people always said, how does, Donald Trump pays $70,000 in taxes, yet he's a billionaire. Well, what is he? He's a commercial real estate investor. He understands those tax benefits, and that's the other thing too. Is
well, that's one way.
Yeah.
But another way is because he has his shit set up in a series of trusts.
Sure.
So when you get into a elite, a wealth status of the elite, you have different rules.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, that's not true. It is true, because people will show you how to set up structures and charities and trusts and shit to where all the money that you quote unquote make is not taxable. Yep. And the reason they don't change the laws is because all of the elite and super wealthy are leveraging those same ass loopholes for themselves. And when you cannot pay taxes versus someone that must pay taxes, you have a big advantage. And I'm not talking about no taxes, because of course you're going to pay taxes, but instead of paying money on $500 million that you produced, you're paying out of $500 million, you're paying tax on the $60,000 salary you were given.
Yeah.
But that's you.
Right.
Your trust was given the $499 million, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, that's just another reason why he don't pay taxes. It's not just real estate, but his real estate is why he's writing off all that debt, right? That 970, I think it was.
Yep. Yeah.
Dude, because he did a cost segregation?
Tax cost segregation, right.
But he did that on the building, or because...
Most likely. Yeah, definitely he did.
Do you?
All the time.
Yeah. So you go to a building and you say, let's write it all off in 1 year. Don't you have to pay the taxes in?
Well, you get 39 years. So it's
you can take it all in 1 year if you want.
Yeah. Of the 39 years all in 1 year.
I would do that.
So like I had one deal that actually the Buffalo Wild Wings, I'm putting in on one of them, I'm putting in $1 million of my own money, and I'm going to get almost 2.5 times back in tax benefit. So $2.5 million of tax benefit come back to me based on me putting that $1 million in.
See, then it's a no-brainer, because if you didn't put the $1 million in, you'd have to pay $2.5 million in taxes to the government, get nothing.
Yeah.
So why not spend $1 million and not give?
Right.
But that's what the wealthy are doing. See, so you're starting to reach that upper echelon wealth level.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the thing is I knew about this when I started commercial real estate, and not right at the get-go, but Scott, my mentor, taught me all this stuff.
So how would I get into commercial real estate right now? What would you do? First 3 things you'd have me do, knowing I have a little money, I got 830 credit score. Like, tell me what you would do if you were me. I
would contact any commercial broker and just tell them like, hey, I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. Like, I can obviously do a small
facilities.
Pitch, like retail. I'm interested in commercial retail.
Explain what retail is.
Retail is like a shopping center.
Like the Albertsons one.
Albertsons. It could even be like the Buffalo Wild Wings is considered restaurant retail.
Well, again, Buffalo Wild Wings usually aren't standalone. They're in a little strip mall.
Well, the ones I'm buying, it's standalone.
Standalone, huh?
It's called a single tenant. But still, it's, the one I was talking about is single tenant, but it could be in a center. Let's say it's in a center.
Yeah. Well, or a strip mall.
Same thing. Yeah. I in my mind, I say shopping center, but strip mall is in the same umbrella.
Yeah. Here's another thing my friend does. So he'll go and find a piece of property, let's say 10 acres, whatever. Mm-hmm. He'll build the big building and ultimately sell it to Exxon or Chevron on a lease before he builds anything, before he does anything. Yeah. He's got this whole thing set up. It's the craziest shit I'm saying. So Chevron says to you, I will lease that 45,000 square foot building from you at X amount for 20 years if you build it.
Yep.
And then he says, look to the bank, look what these guys will do. And the bank says, bang, there's the money to build it. There's the money for the property. There's the money for everything. And this guy's ultimately just finding property to make a building to lease to Chevron.
That's what I do. So I don't do any what they call development or building now, but mostly because there's so much opportunity because prices went up on construction, right? So existing is going to be even a better deal, where it's costs probably, like if I can get a deal for $2 million, it probably is actually costing $6 million to build that same center these days.
Okay, so I interrupted and I don't want to because this benefits me. What would you do if you were me right now?
Okay, number one is contact any broker, commercial broker. They're all called brokers. There's no agents. So, and just tell them I'm into commercial retail, dental, medical facilities.
What about storage?
What's that?
Storage
Storage
facilities.
isn't as sexy as it was before. There's not really great deals in storage. If you're
There's
getting
a lot of people storing shit.
you can't get great deals on it like you used to.
Oh, deal on buying it.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the first thing.
So
is
right now the
contact
great
a
deals
broker.
are medical,
medical,
retail,
dental,
dental.
and then flex industrial.
Flex is like the ones with the big doors. It could be okay.
Yeah, and it has like a little retail spot in front of it.
Yeah, and what's industrial?
Kind of like those big industrial buildings where it still has a bay and stuff, and they just store stuff like an Amazon big facility.
Like a shipping warehouse.
Yeah, shipping
There's
warehouse.
nothing really there. It's just a big warehouse.
Yeah,
Those are
good
valuable
money.
too.
Very valuable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know someone that has one here in town for 10,000 square feet. He hit me up. No, he was looking for 10,000 square feet.
Oh,
I was going to use that to go start, looking like, hey, maybe I'll buy a 10,000 square foot building.
yeah.
So knowing those things, how would I start doing that? I'm going to call a commercial broker. They're going to send me these deals.
They'll send you these deals. They'll even think about maybe old clients that they represented 3 or 4 years ago and call them up and says, hey, I know you're possibly wanting to sell here in the next couple of years. I think I have a buyer. And they might even ask you something specific, like, well, what's your price range? 2 to 15 million. That's usually what I tell people, right? I don't want anything below that and anything. But the thing is, I've looked at $20, $30 million deals too, but you kind of give them that range. They're going to give you that cream of the crop.
What does $5 million get you?
Probably a 50. It depends on the area. Like I have a property in Indianapolis. It's 55,000 square feet shopping center for about that, but
Or if you paid it, you own the thing lock, stock, and barrel.
if you paid cash,
Yeah.
well, that wouldn't be a good strategy.
I'm just saying, if you did.
If you did, yeah.
So the value of the property at 55,000 square feet is about $5 million. If you bought it for $5 million and I could get terms where, what is it, 20% down, 30% down?
30.
Say you put 30% down on $5 million, that's only $1.5 million. Now you just bought a thing that's worth $5 million. The bank pays the rest. And now how much are you cash flowing off that building?
Oh, I mean, I had this one investor that we ended up selling that surgical center. She made almost 85% return over 3 years.
But I'm looking to lease to tenants triple net leases.
That's the same thing. I was just saying that she made a really good return on her money. It could be, I think in her case, I think she put in $100,000 and she was cash flowing. She was almost making about 12 to 13% a year on cash flow. And then when we sold it, she made a big bump at the very end, So like my shopping center, I just said in Indianapolis, I get about $50,000 a year. And it's a set it and forget it. Like it's a Cinemark theater.
But how much cash do you have sitting in there?
When we raised the money, it was like $800,000 is all. And now we've probably have about $3 million equity in it.
So that $800,000 though, it has been gone since you guys put it down.
It went towards the mortgage balance at the very beginning.
Right,
So
but it's still gone. Nobody
gone.
got that money back. If I invested in that and I wrote the check, my $800,000 would not be back. But I have been making cash flow this
Correct.
whole time.
Yep.
But my money's not back.
Right.
And then 2 or 3 or 5 years later, someone offers me a multiple and I make $2 million and I cash out. That's when I get my $800,000 back or my
The
profit.
big one. Yeah, that and plus more.
And then in the interim, I'm writing off the depreciation and getting all kinds of freaking tax savings on my other income or other shit I got going on.
Yeah. Yeah. My limited partners, investors, they're very happy.
Yeah, like, dude, do you need more limited partners?
Always.
See, now again, I'll tell the bomb squad, hey, go be a limited partner if you want to make some dough because you're not losing it. I know that. Are you?
No.
But now everybody goes and invests and, oh, Brad Lee, shit out of luck. I'm on the sidelines going, how'd it work out for you? I need to figure out, like, number one, what is the deal? Because maybe I'll give you the money and not have to dick with it myself. But I always want to know myself.
You should.
Like, because if I give you money and I'm like, hey, that's fantastic, thank you. If something happens to you, I'm back in the same boat. But if I were to say, I don't necessarily want to give you my money, but I will give you some money to learn what you're doing. That's why I said, of course, because like for some reason, I want to know myself. I want to be on the phone. I want to go get a tenant. I want to know what all that shit means.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what always keeps me from doing anything because I realize I got a million other things going on. I'll do that later, and later never comes.
I actually encourage all my limited partners to be educated because I want them to know the risk. There's still a risk. Like, for instance, that one in
Like if you can't rent it out.
Well, the one in Indianapolis, during the pandemic. I have a theater, Cinemark Theater. Who was going to movies during the pandemic?
I was.
Nobody. I'm just saying, like,
do you know why I
went
was?
Down. To support it?
No. Well, hell no, because you weren't allowed to. They shut you down. But I would rent out the whole theater.
Oh,
this place over here, Green Valley Regal, you could rent out the whole theater. Then you weren't in violation of anything.
That's cool.
And it would, dude, literally, I would take my family in there on a weekend, Saturday night, for I think $190,
awesome.
And the whole fucking theater was mine, and they'd play the movie. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
They don't do it anymore. Theaters are back, bro.
Well, they are back. But what I'm saying is, during that time, luckily, the franchise owner had almost 6 to 12 months of savings that he was paying his employees just to pay him, because the state government wasn't giving him any type of relief.
Can you get a hold of him?
What do you mean? He's my tenant.
Well, does he realize that if he had W-2 employees during COVID?
Oh, yeah, he did.
He does? All right.
He was one of my first. I was calling all my tenants.
I was going to say, let me talk to him.
Yeah.
Dude, anybody that has a business that ain't getting their money back is foolish.
I know.
Or lazy. Because again, believe it or not, you could give me a coupon somewhere and I don't give a fuck, because like I'm not a real big coupon guy. Right. But it really boils down to I'm foolish. Why? Well, because, over time that shit adds up. But we're not talking about, they're going to give you $2.60 per employee. Dude, they're giving you up to $26,000.
It's unreal.
Which means if you only have 5 people, that's $130,000. We had 80 some.
Yeah, we even have churches. I mean, this is for nonprofits too. We have churches from all across the country that applies as well. That, granted, they have 4 or 5 employees, but some of them were hurt pretty hard, during the pandemic, and so they actually can qualify as well.
Yeah, and then if you're not a business, you wish you were, and you didn't have any money during COVID, but now you're looking for some. There was about 30 million, I think, businesses in the country during COVID.
Oh, 30 million businesses.
Yeah. Like there's 30 million small businesses. Yeah. You could ask, the statistics, probably get better answer, but it's roughly 30 million businesses, which means you could literally go door to door knocking and prospecting and find people that would fill out your form, because it takes 3 seconds to see if they qualify. And there's people out there doing it, making a living.
Oh, for sure.
Selling the ERC specialist program. They're making a living. They do it full time. That's all they do. So again, if you want to do that, go be an affiliate, even if it's part-time. There's nobody busting your ass, full training, make money. Now, once you make money, drop it into freaking commercial real estate.
And you might think you're too late to the game. You're not. This goes till 2025. And I think it was a month and a half ago, maybe 8 weeks ago, only 35 or 40% of this program has been utilized so far. So there's still a ton of runway. Plus, we're actually going to pivot into something else after this, as far as helping business owners with additional credits.
Yeah, because you guys are already establishing relationships with business owners. Now let's figure out how else we can help them. Yeah. That's called vertical integration. That's called stage next. And by the way, again, I'm sure the affiliate, those are their accounts the way you guys look at them. So they can go in there and walk in with the next product.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah, and I know people. I've been to a few of events. They're making a killing, so do that. But once you make money, the question is, what do you do? And that's where I'm at right now. And that is drop it into commercial real estate. I just wish you had a course we could push so someone would know how to do it, because they're like me. People have money, dude. They just don't have the know-how. Like, I don't want to go buy a building and find out, fuck, dude, you didn't know that thing was on a fault line and a double dip and flood zone, and that's why no one's renting, and you're an idiot and you just got took. So now I have a $3 million building that I can't rent, and now it's burning my ass. So it's like, how do you know what's good deal, what's not a good deal? You know
the book Who Not How, right?
Yes.
Talks about, rather than figuring out how to do things, figure out who to do it with or for you. That's exactly commercial real estate, though, as well. Is I have about 2 partners, one for sure that I do everything with him. He's in analytics. He's the VP of analytics, or used to be at BP Oil. He's not a guy that's going to negotiate, and go to a property and negotiate with a seller like I am. I'm more of that sales guy and raising money type of guy. He does that back end stuff. Like I always tell him, he's my dream killer as well. Like, I'm like, dude, this Albertsons place, it's got a Starbucks and McDonald's. This is going to kill it. He starts running the numbers and all the data pieces. He's like, it's kind of shit. We're going to pass on this one. Really?
Even if it's cheap enough?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the number. Let's say the seller's like, I'm not going below 3. And we're running our numbers and we're like, it only works at 1.8 for us. And
what's the formula?
Well, he goes through all that. It's a huge.
But this is what I'd pay to learn. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So I can go in and do my own formulation.
Well, you'd want to
right now
stay in your lane though. Like you'd want like a partner that does certain things where you can just do this and he or she could do that. I would highly encourage that. That way.
But I'd have to find someone that knows what they're doing.
You could find them.
Where?
My guy.
Tell your guy to call me. I'm looking for a partner.
Yeah. And the other thing
by the way, if you would, tell all your commercial broker friends that you know that I'm looking for buildings.
Yeah. I'm sure you got some listeners that are commercial guys right now all across the country.
Dude,
start sending deals to Brad.
I'm not even joking. I'm looking to buy businesses.
Yep.
That's Black Rhino Equity. I just started that. I'm looking to buy and cash infuse and grow businesses. If you're an entrepreneur.
I do that too.
Yeah, that's freaking great. It's, you get all kinds of opportunity.
Yeah.
Plus you're helping, entrepreneurs grow and scale their business. So it's a no-brainer. But if you're a business owner and you want me to invest or buy in, blackrhinoequity.com. But what'd you just say right before that? Maybe plug that real quick. But
well, I'm sure you have commercial brokers that are listening right now.
Oh yeah.
And I said, send Brad your deals.
Yeah. So if you're a commercial broker and you happen to be listening, which any commercial brokers in any city in the United States, just hit me in the DM and say, hey, commercial broker, got a few properties to send you. Send them my way. Now, again, I'll be calling you going, what do I do with these?
We should.
But in reality, I do know what to do with them. I'm acting dumber than I am, but I probably don't know as much as I should. So I want to partner with someone to where I can be like, what do you think? What do you think?
That's what we're here for. And I'm actually developing a whole, because just like ERC specialists, we did on scale and scalability and systems and automation. I'm actually probably about 2 months away from having that all finished on the commercial side as well. I'm really getting prepared for these next 2 years could be something that's the best in the next 20 years.
Do you think we're heading for anarchy in any way?
It's
the collapse of the dollar and all that?
Yeah.
Are you afraid? Because guess
I'm not
what?
afraid.
Rich people will not be rich if that happens.
I'm not afraid though.
And you got to have assets. The fuck are assets going to do? Who's going to pay your rent?
Yeah.
You own all the buildings in the city, but no one's paying rent. Who cares who owns those buildings? Not only that, if I got a gun, who gives a fuck that you own these buildings? Like, come get me out. So like when I start thinking about the anarchy situation of the dollar collapse and people are like, well, you better have gold. Dude, you better have guns and you better have ammo. That's what you better have. Okay. If that shit happens, you better have guns and you better have ammo.
You can have guns. You need the ammo.
You better have guns and you better have ammo because, dude, with guns and ammo, you can get everything else. Okay. Gold, you may not get anything. Matter of fact, you might get that gold took with someone with guns and ammo.
Someone that knows you have gold.
You need guns and ammo, man.
Yeah.
That's why the Second Amendment needs to be protected at all costs.
For sure.
Not to get political, though. We don't want to get this suppressed. Why? Because, dude, this is an opportunistic episode for everybody involved. Like, dude, if everybody goes and gets help, I get paid, you get paid, they get paid. Everybody wins on this episode.
I feel like we've talked about a few different opportunities. Black Rhino.
You're gonna get several different inquiries.
Nice. Okay.
People are gonna say, listen, I guarantee you there's people going, I want to learn commercial real estate, but you don't have a program for that. So soon.
But there's little things that people can do just on the side that it probably take me or my team 15, 30 minutes to kind of go over like, hey, just start with this here and just start sending deals based on those asset classes. And be a hustler. Like when I first started, I was a hustler. What?
How many deals are you looking for? How much can you fund?
A lot. I have, I guarantee you're going to have people that like, hey, I just want to invest. I heard this episode. I want to be part of those types of deals. I have a lot of those already, and there's going to be a lot bigger opportunities. Sometimes it's not.
If anyone does, dude, send me a Starbucks gift card so I feel included.
Yeah. I'll do more than that. I mean, there's easy opportunities for you to be involved.
Well, I need to start making money in the real estate world. Mm-hmm. And I like commercial better. Why? Triple net leases.
Yeah.
That's why when you said triple net, that's like, oh yeah, what is triple net? Because I keep hearing that. And what interests me is like, if the toilet breaks, they fix it.
Yeah.
If their air conditioning goes out, they fix it. Well then, why are you the landlord? Like who's willing to agree to that? I would not pay for this building's air conditioner if it went out. I must not be on a triple net lease here.
I don't know. Yeah.
I am not.
You could. But you
could what?
you could or could not, like meaning if the air conditioner went out,
It does go out, and I've never paid a dime.
so you're probably on a gross lease.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we get maids in here 4 days a week, paid for it, like it's part of my lease. So when I negotiated this, it was empty, and it was, the guy went overboard, I think, and wanting me in, and so power, leaving the lights on and all that. You're supposed to do like common area maintenance and all this other costs.
You don't do that?
I said, nope, I want X amount. I want to know what I'm paying. So I got a killer deal. That's why I've been here for so long.
That's probably why, because I'll charge CAM to my tenants.
And that's normal.
Yeah, that is normal.
But that's why I like it, because, dude, you don't have any expenses. A toilet goes out, you say, well, fix it.
And it's kind of crazy because we actually have property managers for properties, and and I've done apartments, and people always say, "Oh, just get a property manager; they'll take care of it." No, I mean when I had my apartments, my property managers would call me daily. It was a mess. I have a property manager for each property, but they pay for that as well. So
and they all agree to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So someone says, "Hey, I'd like to lease the building right there next to Albertsons, the little 2,000 square foot unit," and I say, okay, it's, $8 a square foot, plus anything happens, you pay for it.
Yep.
And they say, okay.
And you take care of it.
How do they pay for it if it's the air conditioner that runs 4 units and they're only one? Do they just pay 25%?
They pay their percentage of however the center is. So if they're that 2,000 square feet and it's a 20,000 square foot facility, they're going to pay 10% in CAM.
And if you have a vacancy, then you're eating that.
I am. Yeah.
And see, there's where the risk starts coming in. Vacancy.
Yeah.
You don't want vacancy.
Wait, I do when I buy, because when I'm buying it, I want to make sure I already have cash flow with the vacancy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It means it's a good deal without renting more.
And then I just added more value to the property. It went from $2 million with cash flow to now $2.8 million with more cash flow,
And then you start leasing it out and improving it, and then next thing you know, it's a $9 million building with serious cash flow.
Yeah,
dude, how'd you learn that? You were just, one day.
I was just helping. The guy Scott Schill, my mentor, he's on Fox Business and stuff 3 or 4 times a year talking about commercial retail. I met him at an event. He was actually at a real estate expo with Tony Robbins, and he had a small course, and I was like, I thought it was too good to be true with the triple net. I'm like, no way. People actually do that? They actually pay your tax and insurance too? No way. And sure enough, it's absolutely true. And then it's a huge market,
Yeah, and it's a huge business. I had one time these people that were doing these e-commerce stores. And so I'm just talking to them, asking all these questions, and because I was thinking about getting one. And so I'm like, maybe I'll get one and see how it works.
We're going to get you one. Don't you worry about that.
Supposedly these e-commerce stores you give them $50,000 and next thing you know, you're making $6,000 a month doing nothing.
No. I'm talking about trust.
Drop ship. Trust. No, I'm talking about drop shipping, bro.
Okay, no.
So apparently a bunch of people went and did a drop shipping store with these people. And then a year later, they're not necessarily in business. And now everyone's calling me going, dude, it's like, hey, I always say, view of my guests are not always the view and opinions of me and or the show.
Unless you say it directly from the horse's mouth, right?
And what I'm trying to do is give people the ability to say, man, I want to go deeper with KC. Why? Well, because, dude, I believe the difference between the rich and the not so rich, like I'm not so rich.
That's relative.
Some people think
that's relative.
Yeah, but some people will say I'm rich. I'm not that rich. Okay, there's rich. Mm-hmm. I'm not that rich. I want to get rich, but I think the difference between the rich and the not that rich is taxes and these fucking loopholes that they don't tell no one about. Structures. Because I'm paying taxes that this jackoff didn't have to pay, and then he's got that much more money to go invest and use and leverage to get even more money that he doesn't pay taxes on.
Compounds every single year.
Right. And then I got to go, boom, pay taxes. So I'm always at a disadvantage. And it takes me forever. And by the time I get 70 years old and I finally say, okay, now I'm one of the rich bastards we're talking about, all this will be like, oh, well, of course. You didn't know that? Like, how come we aren't telling people this when they're 20?
Well, It is being told to those in the 20, but just if they're in the right circles. So think of the golf country club crowd as an example, or the ultra high net worth family offices. That's really where all this talk stays, because those family offices have their own dedicated teams. They aren't mixing, like we just talked to insurance guy a minute ago, right? He doesn't know how to operate the insurance policies the way I'm set up. It's just above his pay grade because there's scales to everything, right?
I know, but that's why I keep saying, so how did you discover it?
By doing the research. So
why is that above everyone's pay grade? Why don't they just do the research?
They're lazy.
That's it.
It's all written there. Like, I'm not special. I haven't done anything that nobody else can go and do. I just pieced it together in a way that made sense for me, right? I did the work. I put the effort in and I paid the dues. Most people, as you know, are not willing to do that extra work.
Well, they'll just hire someone who did.
There you go. Hire me. Away you go.
And not only that, hiring you would save them money.
Absolutely.
That's the best part in your position.
Yeah, it's value add.
Somebody spending, let's say there's, paying $1 million in taxes. I'd rather give you a chunk of change and not pay those. And now I'm still up. You're up. Everyone's up.
Win-win, right?
That's win-win. That's
what
win-win-win.
That's what I create. It's a win-win-win.
Where do you stay in? What hotel are you staying at?
I'm just flying in and flying out.
Oh, you should have said the win.
I'll use that next time.
That's right.
Next time I'm on, I'll use that.
So I know you smoke cigars.
Yeah.
Now, you got kids?
One on the way right now.
Congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
So obviously you're married.
Yeah.
Or going to be.
I'm married. Yeah, married 5 years now.
So what does your wife think about this type of, like, when did she meet you?
We met, funnily enough, here in Vegas, 2012.
Did you have money then?
No, zero money. I was working as a corporate employee. Not zero money. I was doing okay, but as a corporate guy, not as an entrepreneur.
So is she proud of you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because I know you have a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, I've got one.
Huh?
Yeah, I have one. I've got another one on order.
Just one?
Just one.
What other cars you got?
A Ferrari.
What kind?
I got a 458 Spider.
Yeah.
The last Pininfarina.
What's that watch you got on?
That's a Richard Mille, Bubba Watson.
Bubba Watson, what are those running for?
About 150, 200, depending on if you get fleeced or not.
Now see that? How does a guy go from the farmlands of frickin' shits and giggles to wearing $100,000 watches?
Got to put in the work. Nobody gives it to you, right? You know this better than anyone.
Problem solving, son.
Yeah, the more value you add, the more reward you get.
It's not putting in the work though, bro. I know a lot of people working their balls off, bro. This dude probably works his fucking balls off. I don't see no Richard Mille on his fucking wrist. Yeah. You telling me he don't work hard? He ain't willing to put the work in?
Yeah. All right.
No, dude, you're solving big problems.
Big problems, yeah.
Solve problems, you get paid, period.
Yeah. The bigger the problem, the more you get paid, right?
100%. Like one time I needed a photographer or a videographer. They weren't around. So what do? You get desperate, you make phone calls, and you pay premium. Yep. And they're like, well, shit, he's solving a problem. I need someone there. So same thing with you, but you're doing it with a consistent recurring thing called taxes.
Every year?
Don't you worry about getting shut down by the IRS or maybe even a, shadow government that comes and just snuffs your ass out because you personally woke the world to this type of thing?
Nah, I'm too small for that stuff. They got bigger fish to fry.
How big of a fish do you need to be before they want to fry you? If I were the scammers and this fuck over here was telling everybody to not pay taxes, you're not saying to not pay them. You're saying, hey, let me show you their rules.
Yeah.
And so it causes everyone not to pay taxes. I'd be pissed. I'd be looking to shut you down.
Well, you'd have to change the rules, right? What I'm doing is no different than the elite families.
So what you're saying is they can't do anything.
They could kill me, right? That would shut me down.
That doesn't scare you at all?
No.
I wish Andrew Tate was here. I'd ask him.
Well.
You know Tate?
I don't know personally. I know all of him, obviously.
Well, he's going to come on the podcast, and once he's out of jail, hopefully they let him out and he'll come back on. Now he's famous. Like, I was having him on and we kept jumbling before he was even that famous. Mm-hmm. But now everyone knows who that dude is. Everybody. But dude, I listened to his government and his political shit. Dude, dude, he knows what's going on.
Let's use him as an example, right? Because he talks about trusts a lot. And when he talks, he's very articulate in the way he speaks. And he says, clearly, he doesn't own anything. His trust owns it. His trusts are all over the place.
Well, I have
right?
a trust, though.
But you have probably a simple living trust.
I don't know what I have.
Well, you need
because
to know,
I went to a finance guy, and he set me up with all these trusts, and my kids have trusts and this trust and that trust, but they're not. But I'm still paying taxes.
Yeah, they are for probate protection, and that's really relevant too. So even if you're not balling and making a shitload of money, you should definitely have a simple living trust, because it will still save you up to 50-60% on probate and legal fees if and when you die. So without anything that I do, you need a simple living trust.
Do you have one?
No, I don't, because my stuff supersedes that stuff, right? So if you have a complex trust, it supersedes all that if it's set up right. So what?
And you keep saying if it's set up right.
It has to be
Because
set up right.
there's people that can set it up wrong.
Of course.
How do we know you're setting it up right?
You've got to do your due diligence.
How? Who do we talk to?
You read. Everything's written.
So this is what pisses me off about CPAs and tax people. Like, they want me to sign my tax returns every year. And I'm like, I didn't fucking do them.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, but you got to sign them. I'm like, for me to sign this and say that these are okay, you would think that I'd have to go do my due diligence and check into all these numbers. How do I know? That's why I'm hiring an expert.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do due diligence on whether this tax code and that. So do you list them all out?
Yeah, absolutely. So in my data room, as an example, if someone's looking to become a client, they'll say exactly the same thing. They won't say it as directly as you or as kind of straight to the point, but ultimately all they're saying is, I don't know you from the next person. Why am I going to give you all this money to set all this up? Is it legit? Well,
yeah, because what I'm worried about is not all the money to give you. It's going to jail later when you find out it wasn't set up right. That was total bullshit. Yes, that was the law, but it was photoshopped. Yeah. Like, they showed you the tax code, but that wasn't the actual tax code. You failed to go to the Library of Congress and get the actual tax code. Like,
it's all online. So
crazy
we
shit.
Can go straight online. We use Cornell Law Library. It's fantastic. You plug in exactly the tax code you want to look at. You can read it. Again, it's in legalese. It's not in simple speak. But a lawyer should understand it, and a CPA definitely should. And then you back that up with levels, right? Don't just take one thing in isolation. Take the tax code, take the private letter ruling, take the Supreme Court cases that have set precedent and created new law, and then take an opinion letter by a third party. Put those four together. Now do you start to feel a little bit more comfortable with it than you were with, hey, I'm just going to trust this guy that I don't even know with all this money? I wouldn't trust that guy.
Especially with that accent.
And the toys.
Huh?
And the toys.
So it's crazy if you think about it. It's almost like, you can solve a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But I think that's the difference between the rich and the not that rich is the tax advantages and the loopholes that they get afforded to them where most people don't.
Because in the right circles, right? So you've heard the saying, your network is your net worth. Because you're in the right rooms, you're in the right circles, you're mixing with the people that'll give you that advantage because you're in, versus the people outside that are not in. They're not even knowing about that deal or knowing about this strategy because they're not in the inner circle.
Hasn't anyone with any knowledge ever said to you, you're full of shit?
All the time.
And then they go find out you weren't?
All the time. They come running back the next year after they paid millions of dollars in taxes, and they're like, I wish I'd used you last year. I'm like, well, it's a little bit more expensive now.
Yeah, but my point is like, in other words, if I'm listening to this and I'm a tax guy and I've never heard it, I'd be like, yeah, this guy's going to get your ass in jail is where he's going to get you. But once you say, hey, go look at all this and this is the way it is, it's just the way it is. Do they ever come back and be like, well, how come they're not doing it? In other words, how come you are the only person that knows how to do it?
Firstly, I'm not the only person that knows how to do this. This is very common in the right circles, right? So family offices are those circles, just to put a label on them. So in the right ultra high net worth family offices, this is very common.
Describe what a family office is for the bomb squad.
Okay. So a family office is a group of individuals in different skill sets, whether it be insurance, financial planning, accounting, or whatever. And rather than those, let's just use those three just to keep it simple. Rather than those three individuals having each a book of business of their own with hundreds or thousands of clients, they only have one client each, and that is your family. So they dedicatedly work for one family, and that's what a family
So
is.
when someone gets really rich, they put together a group of people that do nothing but manage the money.
Correct.
And that's called a family office.
Yeah.
So do you think Ed Milet has a family office?
Yeah.
Patrick Bet-David?
Yeah.
Grant Cardone?
Yeah.
So is that where they keep their money?
No, this is like the team of advisors around the board. So think of like a mastermind group. Okay, so the insurance guy is the expert at insurance. Hey, we need this type of insurance. Go get it fixed.
What if I got you to some bigger people like that turned you on to all their buddies?
Yeah.
Do I get a piece from my niece?
Absolutely.
To deliver a little fraction of the action?
We all gonna eat together, right?
I know, but as soon as I do my due diligence, which I just claim I will, I probably won't. I'll probably just, you'll send me all the shit and I won't even read it.
I already sent you it all.
I'll be like, fine, dude.
I'm still waiting for you to sign it.
Dude, my big worry, 100% is I don't go to jail.
Yeah.
I don't go to jail for any reason. Like,
Absolutely.
I'd rather be broke living above a 7-Eleven than go to jail. I ain't going to jail. I like freedom.
Yeah.
So my biggest fear is, oh, okay, yeah. And then I'm like, fuck yeah. And I do whatever you tell me to do. I sign whatever you tell me to sign because I'm not going to read all this shit. Dude, you're going to how many things do I got to sign to do this?
Yeah, well, there's a few documents you need to sign.
Right, and I'm not going to read any of them. I don't have a lawyer to run it by. I do, but I do. Why would I?
Let me reframe.
My lawyer's not going to know whether your tax code's legit or not. So it's almost like it's going to cost me $50,000 in experts to come and do my due diligence.
Is it worth it if it's saving you 150?
It would be totally
or
worth it.
$200K or $1 million a year.
100%.
So that's the trade-off.
And it'll just be more and more every year.
Every single year.
But I also, would hate to hear a knock on the door 5 years from now, and they're like, KC Chauhan, that guy's he's not from the UK, he's from frickin' India. What is your nationality?
It's Indian.
Yeah, so he's from India. He's in where's Slumdog Millionaire from?
I'm from India, somewhere in India.
Yeah, I forget the name of the
Bangalore, maybe?
Huh?
Bangalore? Bombay?
Bombay, yeah. Oh, he's in Bombay. Go try to find him there. And you're over there just laughing your balls off.
Yeah, well, that would not be fun, right?
Hey, it could happen though, right?
Anything could happen.
And then
you
I'm
could
sitting
cross
in
the
jail.
street and you could get run over. That could happen, right?
I'm
You're not
sitting
gonna stop
in
crossing
jail
the street.
thinking to myself, I knew it. I knew it was too good to be true. Because here's the craziest thing about this fucking thing, dude. Sounds too good to be true.
It definitely does.
It's like, dude, so what you're saying is I can give you a little bit of money and I can put together all of these series of complex trusts and literally take my tax liability down to very, 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 very little. So instead of spending $1 million or $2 million or $3 million or $10 million in taxes, I can get that down to $100,000.
You're already doing a version of that.
I don't see how.
You're doing it just at the LLC level. So you're, like you said, you've got this great team that's doing every deduction possible.
Yeah.
It's no different. I just know a different set of deductions than what they know.
Yeah, because just for the average listener listening, it took me a while to learn this, but look at it like this. If you earn money as an individual, you're taxed at, let's say, 48%.
Yeah.
So you make money, you get taxed, and then you spend what's left. If you're a business or an LLC, you make money, you pay bills, and get taxed on what's left. So just that in and of itself is obviously a smarter way to go.
100%.
I always tell people, even if you work for somebody, go create an LLC. Now, when you go to dinner with your wife, dude, if you go to dinner with your wife and bring someone that's a potential prospect, and you guys present an opportunity to do business with you and he declines, you can still write that dinner off.
And right now, 2023, you're getting 100% write-off for that. That is a loophole that's going to change, right? So that will change.
But see, I wouldn't go to jail because that is the truth. So you can do that. Now, again, a lot of people don't even know that. Regular people.
Okay.
So like for example, I bought a Dodge T-Rex and a Denali and I forget what else. No, I didn't buy the Rolls, but almost did. They're all over 6,000 pounds. That's a write-off.
Absolutely. But that's loophole stuff. Right?
I know, but I bought a building in Salem, Oregon. Do a cost segregation. I can write off 100% in the first year. Now, my dude did say, well, when you sell it, you'll have to pay taxes. Yeah, but that's deferred. I didn't
and that's
say
effectively what the complex trust does. So that point that you just made there, that it's deferred, that's a mechanism.
Deferred until when?
Until you either dissolve the trust, which you should never do, or you make a distribution to a beneficiary.
Or I die.
No, because it's not you. It's the trust will only die if you dissolve it.
So if I die, and how does it protect it against the government? Probate.
Because the next trustee takes over. Like if you die and the asset
What if I forgot to name anybody? Or is that impossible because somebody's making you name somebody?
Well, that's where you'd have a team of advisors that would advise you to say, hey, there should be either a co-trustee or a successor trustee.
What happens when someone says this should be someone you trust and you don't trust anybody?
You're going to have a problem, man. So
I know, that's my problem.
if you don't trust
I
anybody,
don't trust anybody.
but maybe, well, you got kids, right?
I
So
don't trust them either.
really?
I got a clause in the will that says if I was murdered, all assets are frozen until a complete 100% investigation has been completed.
King Arthur over here, getting a bit paranoid, right?
Yeah, dude, I go to a football game and think the guys in the huddle are talking about me.
I think you need psychiatry. I don't know what's going on with that, bro. It's like, what? They're not talking about you.
You sure?
Yeah, they should be head in the game, right? You go to ice hockey all the time. You think they're talking about you and they're slamming up against?
No, I trust people, but at the end of the day, buddy of mine died, left me about $1.5 million in airplanes, paid off, almost as a joke. But I talked to him many times about it. Yeah, they were paid off for sure. But the executor of the will, the trustee, if you will, decided that there was a balance owed on those planes to another entity that she owned. So basically she said, we sold the planes to pay off this debt. And this debt is not real. She just made it up. And she had the power to. So that executive, that trustee, you better trust that son of a bitch. That's why they're called a trustee.
Well,
Because if he was alive, he'd have said, no, he's supposed to get those planes, not you, bitch.
yeah, that's why the way we set it up is you are the trustee. So from inception, you have the control.
Now, what if I'm married? Do I have to have my wife sign off? How come? What if everything's half hers?
If it's half hers, then yeah, you've got to have
Well,
her
you're
sign
married,
off.
that's half hers.
Well, it depends, right? Like you can have a company that she's not a member of.
100%.
So that's up to you what you do with that company.
Oh, I don't know. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So if you're a managing member, you control the LLC. Let's just use LLC as an example. Then if you want to give that LLC away, you don't need a permission to do that.
Really?
Correct.
That's good. Well, how come more guys don't screw their wives when they're getting divorced then?
Well, that's different, right? So in that scenario, they would have filed paperwork for a divorce. So anything after that, you screwed, right? Before that, if they knew ahead of time.
So if you're getting a divorce, you can't put your shit in a bunch of complex trusts.
You can, but it would get all dragged through the wash and it'd go back to the date at which the divorce was filed.
So if you're going to get divorced and do this, you better do it now.
Yeah, but that's another really good point that you actually bring up with this type of structure. If you did want to protect from your significant other and you weren't quite sure, this would be an amazing way to do that.
Then you wouldn't need a prenup.
Don't need a prenup.
Don't need a prenup if it's all set up right.
That's right.
Set up right.
Yeah.
So,
Structured right?
yeah. So, KC, where do people get a hold of you?
Togethercfo.com is the website. I'm sure you'll put the link below.
Yes, we will. My team should put the link below, togethercfo.com.
Yeah.
You can follow him at KC Chohan.
Easy.
Hard.
You'll get it right.
I always say shh. You just look exotic, like your name's Chohan.
I'll take it. I'll take the exotic, thanks. I'll take
go,
that as a compliment.
You should go KC Chohan. just like a SH instead of a CH, but it's Chauhan.
Chauhan.
Is that an Indian name?
Yeah.
If you went over there and said Chauhan, would all the Indians be like, shut the fuck up, dude, it's Chauhan.
Definitely put me in my place very quickly, yeah.
All right, or you follow him on Instagram at The Tax Bloke. What's the difference between those two?
One's public, one's private.
Well, where do you want them to follow you?
The Tax Bloke is probably the best place to go.
The Tax Bloke. Hey, listen, you can also go check out his tax calculators to see how much they can save you, which is absolutely free.
Absolutely free, yeah.
You can also have access completely free to an educational group up to date with the best tax strategies. Where's that at?
Yeah, that's in our school group. So we have a community page that we give away a free tax
Where's
strategy.
it at?
It's online. It's on our website.
You want them to guess?
Yeah, togethercfo.com.
Oh, Together CFO. Same place.
Same. It's all try to keep it simple.
Dude, I have a feeling you're going to get a lot of freaking people reaching out to you. I would tell people that, again, whether you use him or somebody, use somebody, because if you want an advantage in business, you know, paying or mitigating your tax liability is very, very quick. Like I was saying the other day, you know, if we did something like that, it would almost be the equivalent of getting, you know, three good clients.
Well, reverse engineer it, right? Payroll's usually the number one expense, but taxes is usually very close as a second or third biggest expense for any business, right? So if you were to reduce that tax liability, how much additional revenue would you have to make to save that much on taxes? That's the way I kind of reverse engineer it for people to say, hey, if you made an extra $5 million a year just by having a tax structure in place, how much infrastructure, stuff like all this, would you need to have that increase in revenue?
And then the last thing, if you guys want to set up a review call, with you, as long as you make 300,000 or more, this says 200,000.
2 is the bare minimum. 3 plus.
Let's say 300. If you guys want a free consultation and you make $300,000 or you paid $300,000 in taxes, Casey will give you a free consultation because he's probably convinced he can close you on doing business with him to save you from the next year's taxes.
100%, no doubt.
Well, dude, I appreciate you coming in. I'm going to have you back. We're going to do some due diligence. I'm going to go do some due diligence and then bring you back and ask you some more questions.
That's it.
What else would you tell the bomb squad?
Is just do your reading, right? It's all written there in clear, plain sight. Nobody's going to do it for you. The team that you have right now is good because they've got you where you are, but it's not the same team that's going to get you where you want to be in the future. You need to upgrade that like you upgrade your lifestyle and your business and everything else. The CPA team is no different than any other element. So if you want to get those advantages of the elite billionaires, then you've got to do a little bit of work, do the reading, put in the effort, and you're the one that's going to get most of that reward in that win-win-win scenario that we just talked about.
If they're so loyal to you, because some of those guys we talk to with these other agencies, sometimes they're just brainwashed. Yeah. Like they're so loyal to this company, and the company's giving them 30, 40, 50%. It makes zero sense. If they were so damn loyal to you, why would they give you the little piece and take the big piece for the people that weren't doing anything?
Right.